2021 AFL season reaches its pivotal phase, and for the 8 teams still in premiership contention, it's the land of opportunity. The crown is there for the taking. A coronation's coming. The finals ignite with 2 sides well placed for a deep run into September. For the 2nd year in a row, it's the Power and the Cats in a qualifying final at the Adelaide Oval. Hello and welcome to Grandstand AFL, your home of the AFL finals, live and commercial free. We'll have every game, all the build-up, all the big stories covered for you across the course of the next few weeks. I'm Alistair Nicholson. This will be a huge match tonight. The Power finished 2nd, the Cats finished 3rd. They have the double chance, but the prize tonight is a preliminary final, straight through for the winner and the harder road for the loser. There's no late change for either side. Sam Pepper is the medical sub for the Power, and for Geelong, Sean Higgins is the medical sub. Kelly Underwood, good evening to you. What a time of the year it is.
It certainly is, Alistair. Just had to check the date, and we're still in August. It's like Christmas has come early. But look, pink sunsets, there's mildish nights, even the blossom's out this week. So we've started spring 5 days early, and finally finals are here. It's hard to believe. As I was driving in, saw the MCG, and I thought round 1 in March we were there, that opening game, 50,000 fans as the Tigers unfurled their 2 premiership flags, and then Anzac Day game had 78,000 fans. So this all feels like a lifetime ago, and we've just sort of ridden so many twists and turns this season, but we've made it. We've got 9 games to go. If round 23 was a taste of what's to come, it was absolutely scintillating. So these finals promise to be epic, and most importantly, they're going to be played in front of lucky fans.
Yes, absolutely. 15,000 originally for the match. Was expanded upon, so a crowd of 20,000 for the clash tonight between the Power and the Cats. And the former premiership captain of the Geelong Football Club is with us. G'day, Cameron Ling.
Hello, Al. Hello, Cal. Hello, Mick. Hello to everybody out there. Yeah, I'm as excited as you both are. It'll be a wonderful game of footy tonight. Cats, how do they bounce back after that disaster of a last quarter against the D's last week? Port finally took their scalp. They knocked off a top 4 team last week and go in with a lot of confidence on their home deck. And as you said, in front of a crowd. The season's remained on a knife's edge, and it still is right now. Nick Hines not going to be able to play for the Bombers on Sunday because of a Tier 2 exposure side. So there's still twists and turns with everything that's going on outside of the game. But inside of the game, we're just going to get some brilliant footy. We're going to get... I look at it now and I think Dusty Martin has owned the finals for the last couple of years. He's been the difference. And when the big moments came, Dusty was there. Richmond's not there, Dusty's not there. So which of these other players want to take that mantle? Is it Petrarca? Is it Travis Boak? Is it Ollie Wines? Is it Patrick Dangerfield? Is it Marcus Bontempelli? Is it Buddy again? Can he kick 1,000 and just say, hey, don't forget about me? So it's going to be a brilliant final series. Can't wait.
Absolutely, and even the mere thing that, well, not mere, that Richmond's not there, let alone the players that you mentioned. Richmond is not there. So it's there for the taking, this premiership, and we're going to see someone else standing atop the premiership dais in about 4 weeks' time. Mick Malthouse has been in that very position with his hand on the premiership cup, and he's a key part of our Friday night footy team. G'day, Mick.
G'day, Al. I have got it right. Cal and Lingy. For goodness sake, will you just get off your midfields? You name 9 midfielders and Buddy. And Buddy.
Yeah.
And Buddy.
Well, you've got to be in your bonnet about Buddy, because you had him in the All-Australian team and you're looking at Lingy with your finger pointed at him because he didn't put Buddy in.
I was scared coming here tonight to face Mick.
Yeah.
Talk All-Australian.
Hey, welcome to my world every Friday night.
Well, is that why you get the cup of tea?
Yes.
Now,
And the bun we've just had.
He's brought in a Boston bun. He's in a good mood tonight, Mick. And finals time. Why wouldn't you be? It's sensational.
It is. And I get this, and people say to me, look, let's look at the ladder and go, the Bombers, they finished 8th. They've got nothing to lose. Hello, the 10 sides that didn't make the 8, they're out of it, and they all wish they were in the Bombers' position, in 8th position. You've got so much to lose. Because if you don't make it, and each week, today, for instance, or this weekend, we'll have 2 sides fall out, and the others will march forward, and those that fell out will be going, why? We want to stay in it. Lingy, I'm going to add one more player to that list, and that's big Maxi Gawn. I reckon Max Gawn may own September. Now, I know that this could happen they could go out in 2, who knows. but his ability, and I'm so rapt that you guys put him at number one ruck in that All-Australian side. I don't think any side has been able to be so moved by his enthusiasm, the way he captains the side, the way he presents himself to the Bombers. If I remember rightly, I do think he came off an ACL as well, early days, and for a young ruckman to come off an ACL and to march through and do what he's done, I hope that he does own September, or say August, September. And I don't know whether that'll mean they're going to win a premiership, but I'd love to see a player like him do so well. But to our listeners, this is going to be we've got Ken Hinkley, who's ex-Geelong, doesn't coach like Geelong play. He coaches the way he wants him to play. So it's a contrast. We're looking at the teams. We reckon we've nailed where they're going to line up, Lingy, but outside of that, what a game.
There's a lot to look ahead to on Grandstand AFL tonight. Corey Enright from the Cats is going to join us. He is the game's record holder at the Geelong Football Club until Joel Selwood runs onto the ground tonight and shares that mantle with 332. Tom Hawkins playing his 300th game. But I said Mick was in a good mood. His mood's only going to get better in a second, because Mick Moldhouse, I'm going to give you first crack at one of your former charges. He's a development coach at the Port Adelaide Football Club. His name is Tyson Goldsack, and he joins us on Grandstand AFL. I'll hand you over to your former coach. Tyson, welcome.
Hello, Goldie.
Thanks, guys. Go, Mick. How you doing?
I'm very well. Now, who would have thought you would end up in Adelaide and barracking for Port?
Not me. And to think of the year that I went, Melbourne kind of took a turn for the worse. I was getting chance to leaving Melbourne, being the most livable city, but it's worked out okay. And performance on the park's been great, so it's all coming together.
So Goldie, give us a bit of a rundown on one, why you went, two, that you'll put on the list, and tell us what you now do and your match day function.
Yeah, so the reason the calling to come to Adelaide was my wife is from here, so her family's from here, so that was always the draw card to come back, so she could be with her family. We've got two young girls, so the family being close by would help with that.
So your mum didn't override that?
She tried early days. I mean, she had her fun she had her fun when I was growing up, and had 12 years at Collingwood, so it was time to go and share the family values with Chelsea. So that's what brought me here. But I mean, I'm very thankful for the move, and Port put their hand up and showed some interest, and it was great. Like I said, happier. I couldn't be any happier with where I chose to go, and being a development coach has suited me really well. You get to kind of go in. Technically, I've still been a player. I'm on the list this year still through some different circumstances, which allowed me to play in our reserves grade, which has been great. So it allows me to coach on field, and also work with the younger blokes during the week. So it's been a great year.
Let me just jump in there. So who have you had the most dealings with the team tonight that you've been able to play with through the year, and now we see him play the mighty Cats?
It's, to be fair, I probably haven't played with many of them at all at reserves level. The younger guys under my watch, so your Miles Bergman, Lockie Johns, who played a string of games and got injured. Alir was meant to be under my care, but I haven't seen him at all this year because he's playing so well. So I still obviously have dealing, all Australian, so congratulations to Alir. That's awesome. So I mean, obviously I have a lot of dealings during the week with them, but just haven't been able to play with them in reserves grade, which is not a bad thing at all.
Can I jump in again, mate? Pepper played a couple back with you, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So
he kind of.
We're surprised he's not in the side. Put it that way.
Well, he's somewhat in the side, Nick. So he'll be looking for an impact late in the game if needed. But he was playing some great footy. Obviously, we have a lot of guys at the half-forward line that are pretty special players. Did he play that many games because we had a run of injuries, or was he playing really good footy the whole year? I think he was playing decent footy, and then maybe got squeezed out late when Zach Butters and Connor Rosie started coming to form, and Horatio started to kick some goals. So pressure on spots, like we know in September, is a massive thing, and it's there now, and it's real for us. We've gone through a lot of injuries through the year, but now everyone's firing and fit. So Pep played a couple of good games for our Maggies, our reserves grade team. So he's earned a spot. He just needs one to open up in fully for him.
Port Adelaide development coach Tyson Goldsack's with us on Grandstand AFL ahead of the qualifying final between the Power and the Cats tonight. That almost resembled what I would imagine an exit meeting might look like for you, Tyson, with Mick Malthouse interjecting. How would you have gone in a team meeting if Mick had the floor and you were jumping in on him like that?
No, it probably wouldn't have gone so well, would it? No, that was real.
That's a distance call, that one.
Well, I just sit in the corner and be quiet because Nick knows a lot more than I do. So, but, yeah, on this one, if you want to talk about Port, obviously I've got a hand in a lot of things midweek. So it's just exciting. But I mean, what Mick said before I came on about the contrasting teams and how they play is very real. And we know that Ken likes to play an exciting offensive brand of footy, and we know that Geelong can control the ball and can defend really well. We're not too shabby defending either, but we're hoping we can lighten the game up a bit tonight and have a bit of excitement in finals footy, which we'd love to see. So, it's going to be a cracking game to watch. I can't wait to get there and watch them go about it.
Physically, how is Charlie Dixon, Tyson? Last week he looked really sore finishing out that game against the Western Bulldogs, as much as he contested hard like he always does. Perhaps couldn't have the impact that he wanted to, given he just looked so banged up.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of ongoing management for Dicko. He's a big man, so there's a fair bit of strain going through those knees, no doubt. And having to deal with contested aerial contests, week in, week out. So he was doing a little bit of ruck stuff early in the year, and allowed us to only play the one ruck. But I think that got a little bit too much. So now I've got Peter Adams that's playing a secondary ruck role for us and doing a great job, which allows Dicko just to kind of camp up forward and do his best work down there. But like you said, he has been a little bit banged up, and he's probably coming good rather than going the other way, which is a positive.
Tice, last year it didn't quite end the way you wanted it to end, the team, as far as the final series go. It's a long way to get back to the same position and that same opportunity, but you've done it, and you've done it through a lot of hard work and through another tough season that's had teams going here, there and everywhere. Have you got a sense of, is there any residual effect of last year's loss in the prelim final? Is there a burning something there, or is it just a new era, a new time, and none of that's ever referred to?
Well, yeah, a little bit. I mean, the new era for our team was probably last year, where there's majority of the team hadn't played finals before, so hadn't experienced the rise in intensity and the demand for finals. So the new era for our club was last year, and hoping we can take the experience out of that. I don't think you kind of the loss resonates too long. It might last until you start pre-season, and you build into the new year, and we're a different team now than we were even this time last year. So no, it hasn't been anything like, oh gee, let's make sure we don't choke up like we did last year, because we still played good footy, just got beaten by arguably a very good team in Richmond. So it's there's nothing left over from last year, and they're pretty excited to get into it tonight.
The willingness of the group to embrace whatever's asked of them by Ken and the coaching group is really impressive. Look at a bloke like Willem Drew, 32 games, was asked to do a job last week on Tom Liberatore, and I thought was outstanding at nullifying his impact. Do you give him a job again tonight on the likes of perhaps the Cat skipper or Paddy Dangerfield?
Well, it's nice to know that he can do it if we need it, and it also just shows that anyone in any role can play, the role that we need of them. So Drew's been a great ball winner for us, a great pressure player. I think he's kind of up in top 5 pressure players in the comp. So he kind of naturally goes about his business that way. So if he had to play a run with role, then it wouldn't be too far out of his natural makeup for him to do that. So we've also had Trav play a run with role throughout the year, play on, play off, that kind of style, which we see lots of clubs do. So it'll be an interesting one to watch to see if someone gets on top, then we have that up our sleeve and we can use that.
Tyson, great chatting to you tonight. All the best to Port Adelaide. We're looking forward to a cracking final. Thanks for your time.
No worries, guys. Enjoy the game.
See you, Goldie.
Good on you. Can't wait for it. Tyson Goldsack, development coach at Port Adelaide, with us on Grandstand AFL.
I've just learnt that you don't get between Mick and one of his former players when there's an interview. I was just backpedaling there. I thought, oh, hang on, that was like an exit interview, wasn't it?
It was
Mick?
just challenging him.
Yep.
I'm going to jump in there. Tell me about this. I'm going to jump in there. Tell me about that. It was very good, Mick. It kept him on point. It's been a massive week of news in footy. We'll touch on what happened at Carlton during the week in a moment, but there is significant news today. You mentioned Nick Hind. Lingy, the reason he can't play for Essendon on Sunday is because he attended an exposure site on Saturday. He was advised of that on Wednesday, and given he has attended that exposure site, he's not allowed into Tasmania for the final. So that's the reason that Nick Hind will not be playing for Essendon this weekend. I think there was a scenario a couple of weeks ago when Ryan Gardner couldn't be taken down there for the Western Bulldogs.
Yeah, so
for a similar reason.
He went to a Tier 2 side,
Yep.
but under Tasmanian rules,
Very
they're treated
strict.
the same as a Tier 1 side. So he misses out, and he's been crucial for the Bombers
Oh,
this year.
speed.
What a pickup he's been to replace Adam Sard, and he's going to be missed.
And perhaps the most significant news coming through recently, and this courtesy of the ABC News website, 2 truck drivers who travelled to Western Australia from New South Wales have tested positive to COVID-19 after going to several sites across WA. The Premier of Western Australia, Mark McGowan, said the men have had very little contact with the general public, sleeping in their truck cabin after arriving at a warehouse in the Perth suburb of Kewdale. The men aged 29 and 23 had travelled from New South Wales via Victoria and South Australia. No lockdown restrictions have been announced at this stage, despite the 2 positive cases. Mr McGowan said the men had been tested in New South Wales on Wednesday as part of the routine freight drivers screening test. Their employer phoned WA Health just after noon after they received an SMS with the test results. Now, that's significant news for the population of Western Australia, but in terms of the football broadcast tonight, it's also significant because that is the laydown to host the grand final, Perth. And whether that can now happen as a result of this would have to be something that the AFL and the West Australian government is continuing to monitor.
So the Premier, Mark McGowan, says at this stage there's no plan to impose restrictions or a snap lockdown. I think they might have had 4 so far this year. But these 2 men did stop at several petrol stations along the way, and contract tracers have so far identified 4 contacts. So
Does that, Cal, bring the Adelaide Oval back into the conversation?
You've raised that for one reason. Because she's on the table doing a dance.
excuse me.
Come on, you're kicking your legs up because you want that to happen.
Not at all. I must admit, I watched Gillon McLaughlin's media conference this week at the front of Fox Footy. And I thought, gee, he's a brave man to declare that it's going there when there's so much more time to go. And all it takes, as we know, is 1 or 2 or 3
Well, people
positives.
were on their way to the Derby and realised that they weren't able to go because there'd been a case and Mark McGowan shut things down straight away. So it's interesting to see the way that plays out.
And it came back down to capacity and the fact that 100% capacity in Perth.
Yep.
Therefore, Perth Stadium has 60,000. Adelaide, as it stands tonight, Nicholas Burrier upped it right at the last minute for that extra 20,000, an extra 5,000. So tonight's game sold out in 30 minutes. Are they willing to get it to anywhere close? I mean, half's 25,000 at Adelaide Oval. It goes to capacity. But the Gabba had 30,000 there
that's
last
right.
year.
That's
So
crowd's a crowd.
we're nervous. Imagine how they're feeling in at AFL headquarters right now.
Absolutely.
Well,
just got a couple of minutes, Mick, before we have some other listeners join us. But just to round out the discussion around David Teague and the handling of that during the week, and it would appear that Carlton's very firmly in the Ross Lyon camp now with the new president, Luke Sayers, saying that he had spoken to Ross Lyon for 45 minutes on the phone, and it seems that discussions have been going on for some time in the background. Briefly, how did you believe the Carlton Football Club handled that scenario in recent times?
Well, very, very briefly, it's almost predictable the way they've been over the last 20 years. So, it's when you start to talk to people when Teague is still in the position, it's quite amazing. Well, that's all I say. I mean, but how does he feel?
Even reading the review, Mick, and going through some of the dot points, it still didn't, as a process, add up to me as a really thorough, positive step forward for Carlton. I mean, just for example, one of the reasons given for David Teague's sacking was the lack of adherence to defence and how it was trained in the pre-season, couldn't implement a defensive game plan or structure to complement too much offence. And then
Who chooses that? Who chooses to say that it's not efficient? Like Matthew Pavlich from Perth. Look, he wouldn't have been over here.
No, exactly right.
And Jeff Walsh is a master in football. Make no mistake about it. But does he assess that in that short period?
Was the review just for optics?
Well, I think it must be, because in the exact same breath, it's a big tick for list management. And yet list management is the one who brought in Adam Sard and Zach Williams on $800,000 a year. Now, they think defence is the thing that runs round to oval. They are that bad at it. They cannot defend as half-back flankers. And yet, big tick for that, but then we're going to whack the fact that we don't have any defensive structures in the way that we play. So which one is it?
Well,
and then we've talked to a whole bunch of players and only 30% of them support the coach. The same breath, there's reports that a number of players tried to back up the coach and make sure he still had a job. Which one is it?
We'll chat more about this on The Lead on ABC Grandstand AFL tomorrow. We'll have a good chat about it. It's a big topic in football that played out during the week with David Teague departing.
When history is made,
over the boundary it goes, and New Zealand are the World Test champions.
ABC Sport is there.
Olam away from one, gets it away to Wello Carr. Now I've seen it. Now I've seen a six-bar. Josh Yellow Carr's it again.
Commercial free.
Bolton! Oh, wow. Up he goes! A hanger in the goal square.
ABC Sport. On radio, online, and on the ABC Listen app.
ABC Sport. Welcome to the 2021 AFL Final Series.
The momentum building.
Grandstand AFL.
From 65 out, he's kicked the first of the game. That's around the body. Sensational goal. The ultimate team, and the ultimate team wins. We're gonna be kids. Gets good to ball under pressure, and it bounces through. Snaps on goal, bends it through. Brilliant finish. On goal from 35, brings it back superbly. Thing of sheer beauty.
AFL.
Goes for home, and he'll kick the sealer.
The 2021 AFL Final Series on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
For the past 4 seasons, Richmond has reigned over the AFL landscape, but 2021 will see a coronation, a new ruler of the competition crowned with 8 teams fighting for a vacant throne. Port Adelaide and Geelong, 2 noble sides, lay their claims tonight. The Cats have just made their way out onto the Adelaide Oval. It's a glorious night for football. What a way to ignite the final series. These 2 teams who went at it in a qualifying final as well last year. It is Port Adelaide and Geelong in front of 20,000, the capacity allowed during these COVID times for the qualifying final tonight. No late change for either team. If you've just joined us, Sam Powell-Pepper is the medical sub for Port Adelaide. Sean Higgins is the medical sub for the Cats. The Power finished the home and away season in 2nd position. The Cats in 3rd. Port Adelaide with 17 wins, Geelong with 16 wins. The Cats have a very good record at the Adelaide Oval, 7 wins, 7 losses, and a very impressive record overall against the Power. Joel Selwood tonight, 332 games equals Corey Enright's record at Geelong. Corey Enright's going to join us in just a moment on Grandstand AFL, and Tom Hawkins plays his 300th game. What an achievement that is for the Tomahawk, whose level of consistency across the years has been staggering. But Joel Selwood has played 20 games against Port Adelaide for 17 wins. It shows the dominance of the Cats over the Power in recent times. Port Adelaide superb with their victory to secure 2nd spot over the Western Bulldogs last week. If you've just joined us and you're catching up on the news of the day via the ABC News website, go there for further details. But a COVID scare in Western Australia. 2 truck drivers who travelled to WA from New South Wales have tested positive to COVID-19 after going to several sites across WA. Premier Mark McGowan said the men have had very little contact with the general public, sleeping in their truck cabin after arriving at a warehouse in the Perth suburb of Kewdale. No lockdown restrictions have been announced at this stage despite the 2 positive cases. So for further information, go to the ABC News website. Alistair Nicholson and Kelly Underwood to call the action with Mick Malthouse and Cameron Ling tonight for you on Grandstand AFL. With the Cats out on the ground, we can check in with Geelong, and it's terrific to have the Cats assistant and games record holder, and until tonight that is, Corey Enright is with us on ABC Grandstand AFL. Corey, just a few words firstly on the achievement of Joel Selwood as he equals your mark tonight.
Oh, look, it's hard to describe what we all think of Joel Selwood in such a short time, and what he's been able to achieve personally, but also for our football club. He's been enormous, and it's been a pleasure to watch him come in from day one and still have a huge influence and impact the way he has right up until now. And he's one that's obviously itching for a chance tonight to play another final, and no doubt he'll lead us really well. So he's been a star, and he's been a champion person for us as well.
Whenever he decides to hang up the boots, he's going to have a very sore body, I would imagine, Corey. How much more good footy do you think he's got left in him?
Well, he just has to learn a little bit how to manage himself a little bit better, but I don't think, knowing Joel Selwood, that he'll be able to do that. So you're right, he plays one way, and it's very competitive. And, for him, it's that way or no other. So, obviously he's played some good footy this year, and he's signed off for next year. So apart from that, we'll see how long he can go for. But it would be a taxing way to play the game, I would have thought.
Boris, you're right about the way that he plays the game, and as a bloke, he's a gentleman and a wonderful footballer, but he's also a very, very strong and ruthless leader at times with the way that he drives the standards of that group. What about last week and the week that the teams had? What's the communication been like from the leaders of the likes of Joel, but also from the coaches, about how you handle last week's loss, but also making sure you have belief into tonight's game?
Yeah, it was obviously a disappointing end to the game last week. We obviously let the game get away from us and let the game slip, and it's something that obviously we addressed pretty quickly. But we also made the fact that we played for 3 quarters some pretty good footy as well. So, and we have done across the course of the season. So obviously with this game in mind, it was about, okay, let's steel ourselves to make sure those things don't happen again. And make sure that we understand what our footy looks like and how do we need to play the game against a different opposition tonight than we faced last week. So it was a little bit obviously focused on that last sort of quarter, a lot focused on the first 3 quarters, and then more importantly, it was a lot focused on who we play tonight.
Mitch Duncan comes in, a wonderful footballer. How close was that call, Boris? Given, I think, the idea of the pre-finals bye was the first plan and get him through to the qualifying final after that bye. That's not there. How close was that call with him?
It actually wasn't that tight. We sort of had Mitch himself and the fitness staff and obviously the coach had earmarked him to be ready for this week. So it was a matter of, obviously, as you said, if there was going to be a bye or a final. And then it was up to us to obviously work out whether he's ready to come into a final after such a long period off. But obviously with Mitch, he's such a quality player that we feel like that we've sort of missed him. Obviously, his ability to use the footy to see space and put his teammates into better positions is something that we'll be looking forward tonight.
Congratulations on such a fantastic year again. You guys have set a trend over the last, 20 years now of being in the finals and just being outstanding. But just if you just take me back a little bit to last week, 8 goals in a row, then 6 goals against you. What can you do about it these days without, with the 6-6-6 seems to have some impact where you can't protect your back line as much. So what is up your sleeve? What can you do in regard to that?
Yeah.
8 goals was outstanding, but then, on your ground in the last quarter, they just kept on coming at you.
Yeah, correct. And I think that's probably one of the takeaways that we talked from last week. What do we do when the game's going well for us, and what can we continue to do? And then if the game's not going the way we like, what are some of the things that we can do? And it is a little bit more difficult now. And I think the first 3 goals last week were centre bounce, kick it forward, mark the ball, or kick a goal. So those ones are really hard to stop. when the opposition midfielder are on top. So it's more about what can we control and how do we get the game back on our terms after an opposition team have a bit of a run on. So it doesn't become 6-7 goals. It becomes maybe 3 goals and we get the next one.
Their ruck division is pretty handy. Yours probably has been patchy. I know that at times he's been outstanding, other times a bit like last week, went to sleep or probably didn't man up as close as what you guys would have liked at the end of the game. Is there any backup plan at all through there? Because Lysette is a fair player and he can give their midfield a pretty much a first use of the football, which puts enormous pressure on you blokes.
Yeah, correct. He's a very good ruckman, Lysette, and he's a big barometer for them. So yeah, we're obviously asking Reece to just match it with him, and at times he's going to get up over the top and give us the ascendancy as he did last week. And when those moments come, we need to make full advantage of it. And then when the opposite comes, we just need to obviously make it hard for the opposition. So within most games, the opposition ruckmen have a big say, and it sort of swings and roundabouts a little bit with who has that momentum and how much you can use it. So yeah, for us, we've obviously got a bit of a plan there with Reece, but it's all determined on how the game goes as well. And we obviously feel like we've got a pretty strong weapon in our front half with the stoppages with Hawk and how he sort of gives Reece a chop out, particularly when the ball's up in our front half. Sure.
Just on the ground, I know at Geelong at times there is either a dampness or a dewy type of feel to it, which you guys would be thoroughly used to, but somewhere or another, the Adelaide ground just seems to get super wet. What's it like at the moment? Well,
it's funny you should say that because it's really clear here, and I'm out in the Oval right now, and as we speak, it is perfect. It's not an ounce of dew on it as we speak. So, right. It's a beautiful night for footy here, and it looks like it's going to continue. That the weather shouldn't play a factor in the dew. As I say, I'm kicking the grass now, and there's nothing coming up. So, it's a magic night here for football.
Corey, the man sitting next to me, handed Tom Hawkins his 4th All-Australian jacket last year. No surprise there. It's a big 24 hours for Tom. He's about to run out for his 300th game. Have you done anything special today to mark it? Is there anything in the inner sanctum that you've highlighted in regards to the Tomahawk?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it's been about, obviously, him throughout the week and what he's been able to put together in 300 games. Has been outstanding. We watched a bit of a highlights package, and you can imagine what that would look like in a 3-4 minute period. It was some super stuff going on in there. So we've obviously recognised and Hawk and how important he's been, particularly as you say the last few years. He seems to be getting better and better. So all he wants tonight is for us to play well and hopefully carry him off the ground winners as well. So again, it's a tricky one with all the rules and protocols that are going on, but we have obviously recognise that it's been a huge achievement, but now it's about how we win this game of football.
I thought you meant it was just a tricky one trying to work out who's going to lift him up. He's a very big man.
21 other blokes, I reckon.
Yeah, exactly right.
You didn't slip that DVD's highlights package into Trent McKenzie's locker on the way into the stadium tonight?
No, didn't worry about that. Hopefully we don't need to worry about that.
Just a real quick one, what's happening behind the scenes? I know you've got a COVID officer, you've arrived in Adelaide, you've spent the day there, you've had a walk on the Adelaide Oval. When do you head to Perth? And, I mean, if all goes to plan, you're going to be on the road for 5 weeks.
Yeah, that's right. We obviously knew last week that we were going to be on the road, and it depends where that is. But, we left Geelong yesterday, knowing that we'd be on the road, and, as you say, hopefully for an extended period of time. So, we fly out tomorrow morning, and then we work out, obviously, who we play, where we go from there.
Corey, great to chat. Good luck tonight, and thanks for your time on Grandstand AFL.
No worries. Thanks a lot.
Corey Enright, the assistant coach at the Cats, with us on Grandstand AFL. The atmosphere is building at the Adelaide Oval. Very shortly we'll have the anthems and the pre-match formalities. It's a beautiful night for football at the Adelaide Oval as this final series gets underway. Port Adelaide and Geelong in the qualifying final. A few thoughts on how this might play out tonight from the master coach, Mick Malthouse, and the premiership winning captain of Geelong, Cameron Lee.
The matchups, Mick, are always fascinating when we get to finals. And throughout the season, you always focus in on this matchup and that matchup. But they get magnified in finals because they really mean something. The big forwards for the Cats, Hawkins, Jeremy Cameron, assuming it's Trent McKenzie who's done the last two jobs when they've played the Cats, Port Adelaide, then who is it on Jeremy Cameron? Now, athleticism-wise, you've got to say it's Aliir rather than Jonas, but that takes Aliir out of his preferred role and comfort zone of being the interceptor. But if it's Jonas who plays on Cameron, that's a massive advantage for the Cats at that end of the ground.
Absolutely. And I just think that Aliir plays the odds a bit. He's very good one-on-one, but he doesn't like necessarily being a one-on-one 100-minute player. He likes to see where the ball is, look where his opponent is, and just drop off. I've seen him drop off 15, 20 metres against really good players, and the side that's had the football has hurt him because they find his man. Geelong are experts at finding the right player. So I find it hard to think that he will, but having said that, when you look at the goals scored by Cameron and Hawkins, they make it easy for Rowan. If you take that away from him, I think Rowan falls away. So why wouldn't you sit at your match committee thing and go, okay, we need desperately to put pressure on the midfield. That goes without saying. But let's see whether we can take Hawkins, at least minimise him, and also take Cameron right out of the game. And Aliir one-on-one, perfectly matched. So that's something to look forward to if it happens.
There's a lot to look forward to tonight. We're expecting a thoroughly engrossing game of football on Grandstand AFL. In fact, all of the four finals across the first weekend, they are quite the prospect ahead. It starts tonight with Port Adelaide and Geelong. The teams have made their way over to the members' side of the ground, and we'll go through the pre-match ceremony now.
Qualifying final between Port Adelaide and the Geelong Cats. The AFL acknowledges the Kaurna people, the traditional owners of the land we gather on today, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. We acknowledge we play our great game on this land and respect the cultures of all First Peoples, their contribution to our nation and contribution to the game of Australian rules football. The AFL invite you to direct your attention to the big screens for the Welcome to Country.
My name is Shakira, second Bulgaria. I'm from the John Morrison. We live in our ancient land, where our ancestors still lay sleeping. My friends live together with us and recognize our spirit, our people, our place. The circle is where our culture began and where this game begins. We greet you to the spirit of this place, our country, Tandamuna, the drinking place of the reggae group. We welcome you to the 2021 Toyota AFL Final Series, the second qualifying final between Port Adelaide and Geelong.
Would you now please rise and join with the coaches, players and umpires for the Australian National Anthem.
You can see the nerves jangling in the line of players on either side. Port Adelaide and Geelong readying for this final. The atmosphere is building. Aaron Bryans is going to be out amongst it all night for us on Grandstand AFL. Aaron, welcome. Set the scene.
Our beautiful conditions here, as you touched on, 13 degrees, clear skies, no breeze, just perfect for finals footy. And it's a big win considering we had our coldest morning of the year earlier today in Adelaide. 20,000 in the house, a few Geelong supporters at the northern end at the moment, so hopefully they can get around the away side tonight. Ken Hinkley, standing on the boundary line during the warm-ups, was looking a little bit antsy. Meanwhile, Chris Scott was sitting at the back of the bench, arms crossed, eyes closed, maybe in silent prayer. Port Adelaide have won the coin toss through captain Tom Jonas. They'll be kicking to the southern end, so that's the right of your radio dial. In terms of the starting benches for the Power, Port Adelaide have Miles Bergman, Willem Drew, Peter Laddams and Riley Bonner. For Geelong, Bradley Close, Sam Menegola, Jed Hughes and Brandon Parfitt.
Good on you, Aaron Bryans. Amongst the electric atmosphere. Might only be 20,000 people, but they've come with a passion tonight. The locals want to see Port Adelaide do what they did to Geelong in the qualifying final last year when they won by 16 points. What will we see before us tonight on Grandstand AFL? As the players ready, the scarves are up in the typical Port Adelaide fashion as they get ready for a home final. And how significant will the home ground advantage prove for them? It's a venue where Geelong holds no fears. The Cats have won 7 and lost 7 of 14 games at the Adelaide Oval, and they have a very good record against the Power. Port Adelaide notorious with the home fans getting behind their team. The final's about to begin on Grandstand AFL. What a match this is going to be. 8 sides battling for football's biggest prize. Tonight, the Power and the Cats begin their quest as we await the siren to confirm the stakes have risen. Finals football has arrived. Here's Kelly Underwood.
And it's Reece Stanley who's keen to make an amends. Rises up over the top of Lycett, gets it down Wines, chopping it off in there was Simpson, couldn't get a free disposal away. A clean one at that. Burne-Jones is tackled heavily by Dangerfield, who's trying to set the scene early. And it'll be ball up on the edge of that centre square. Stanley tangles with Lycett again, down to Boat, got a kick away, a real sky ball up and under. Smith marked it. You heard the umpire say they play on. They pile in. Motlop with a little toe poke, but the umpire's seen holding off the ball. It'll be a free kick to Port Adelaide. And it's going to come back to Butters in the red boots on the outer wing. Wedges the kick over the top to Robbie Gray. How good was he in the last quarter last week against the Western Bulldogs? Short, he goes to Wines. All-Australian he was named last night. The penetrating kick towards Dixon. Goes up with one hand in the end, got his right hand to it, and the hurried kick comes out of defence by the Cats.
Smith's ball towards the wing. Houston gets a hold of it. His 99th game, so he'll bring up game 100 in the finals. He kicks back to Jonas on the back point of the square, and he kicks to centre half back where Burton marks for Port. Kicks towards the members' grandstand. Aaliyah playing in front. Isaac Smith over the top, knocked it away. Duncan, his first possession, a floating hand pass to Cameron, to Smith, who kicks inside 50 for Rowan. Jonas across the front, the spoil. Myers is dangerous in the pocket. Bending ball, just bent a fraction too much as he dribbled towards goal from 15 out. The opening score is a behind to the Cats, and we've played 90 seconds.
It was excellent play by Isaac Smith back on the wing. Just able to make the spoil on Aaliyah when Port were trying to control the footy and created that turnover and a good opportunity.
Burton brings it back into play, almost goes straight down the corridor. Dangerfield was there, dropped the mark in the end, and then he follows up with a tackle on Wines. One-on-one here. Wines claims he was taken high by Dangerfield. There's 2 Cats in the All-Australian last night. No Patrick Dangerfield there. Hawkins and Stewart. Stewart not playing this evening. So tossed up in the air, straight down and being tackled in there is Dalhouse.
There's no free kicks for ruck these days. They just lock arms, lock bodies.
So it was a ball up at half forward and holding off the ball. And it'll go to Patrick Dangerfield. And you can see the crowd already having a say and impact in this contest. Nearly gone 3 minutes, just the one behind to the Cats. Dangerfield's too far out to score. He launches. He's going to go right to the top of the goal square, and Aaliyah touches it on the goal line. All-Australian last night for Port Adelaide. Cameron Ling, you selected him in that team.
I did, yes, well deserved to him. Brian Myers it was then with the Aaliyah matchup, fighting, trying to keep Aaliyah out of that marking contest, but being so much bigger, Aaliyah just got rid of him easily and was able to make that spoil quite comfortably.
Jonas into the back flank, finds Burne-Jones. Let's go to Aaron Bryans on the boundary.
As Lingy just touched on now, Aaliyah is the spare man in the Port defence. Brian Myers is trying to shut him down. Jonas has gone off towards Cameron, and Mackenzie has gone to Hawkins.
Thanks, Aaron. Kick to the wing, roved by Rosie, gave to Amon, off to Motlop, back to Rosie. A hand pass now, Marshall near the interchange. Dinky kick, charge down, smothered by Blitzards. He sees it over the boundary line, centre wing. Geelong by 2 points through the early stages.
See that smart defending then by Dangerfield, Mick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Let Marshall kick it by staying with Wines, so that the really effective ball user in Ollie Wines
He's gone.
He's out of the play.
Yeah.
So a boundary throw in right in front of the benches. Lycett assumes front position, straight down to Boak through traffic. He gets it off to Amon, who's brought down in a tackle. He's gone, and that's Close who's got him. The number 45 in the long sleeves for the Cats.
Similar speed to what I remember,
Yes.
Cal, me and him. Yeah.
Wants to move it quickly through the centre of the ground. He goes to Henderson, booming. He dumps it towards Hawkins. Hawkins dumped Mackenzie, and he takes the mark directly in front. And this to set up the Cats, the visitors, for the very perfect start.
Just does not look right. I know a record of 5 points last year, whatever it was, but it just doesn't gel because he's just so strong and no support in the air. Absolutely no support.
Well, he got lauded for that performance on Hawkins in last year's qualifying final, but Hawkins kicked 0 goals, 5 in that.
Yeah.
So had plenty of opportunities.
Directly in front to the Giants scoreboard end of Adelaide Oval. From 30 metres out, he sends it on its way and has just hung that out to the left. Tomahawk hasn't got his kicking boots on early in his game number 300. His 4th All-Australian jacket last night, and a nervy start. So they are 3 behinds, the Cats, yet to score Port Adelaide after the first 5 minutes of play.
There's no doubt that Hawkins like that has to be manhandled and someone has to jump over the back of him. Otherwise, this will be a one-way trip.
Mackenzie into the middle, Aaliyah couldn't mark. Duncan on the wing, tackled by Marshall. Crowd want ball. Umpire says mine. We'll have the ball, thank you. Slightly attacking side of the wing for Port Adelaide. Broadcast side of the ground. Umpire throws it in the air. Lycett and Stanley tangle. Second tap knocked down by Stanley to Parfitt. Butters tackles him. Lycett in over the top. So the Cats 3 behinds. Port Adelaide yet to score. Almost 6 minutes into this qualifying final. Stanley the tap down at this stoppage. Simpson Roves tackled, dispossessed, holding the ball. That was not a legal disposal. Houston with the tackle, and now the free hand pass away to Amon, who kicks inside the attacking 50. Where's Dixon in the pack? Couldn't impose. Blitzarves knocked it down, and Duncan Roves.
So Mitch Duncan, the only change at selection, in for his first game. And he kicks it out wide, and it's thumped over the boundary line. So it'll be a boundary throw in, half forward for Port Adelaide. Kicking to the southern end, or the River Torrens end of Adelaide Oval this evening.
If Port keep bringing the ball into a central position like that, Lingy, it's going to be bread and butter for Geelong. They just work so well together.
Twirling back in over the head of Lycett. Simpson got it, pouncing on him was Butters. Umpire doesn't blow his whistle. Menengola had it, lost it. Lycett putting his big body on the line. Close with that handball. He was taken high. It'll come back. It'll be a free kick for Brad Close against Boak, who slumps over. He's got the hands on the knees. He twists his head to the left and tells the boundary umpire, or field umpire rather, what he thought of that call. But doesn't matter, the call's been made. Here's Close for across half back. He flicks it out wide. Mackenzie was there, so too Aaliyah. And Aaliyah chops it off.
That's what he's got to do.
The wing.
That's what he's got to do all night, Aaliyah, because Hawkins had got rid of Mackenzie again. Would have taken a simple mark, but Aaliyah floated across and took a wonderful intercept mark.
Went back to Jonas to right half back, and Mackenzie. Mackenzie very short with his kick, just 15 to Amon. And he pulls the trigger into the middle, and it's a perfectly weighted pass. Motlop dishes off to Bonner. His only final for Port Adelaide was that elimination final against West Coast in 2017. Now to Burton. Burton bangs inside 50. Gray there, nudged out of the way, and Kolajasny floats back and takes the defensive mark for the Cats. Kolajasny kicks to the last line. Marking in the goal square is Duncan. And Duncan brings it out short to O'Connor in the left-back pocket.
So we've gone goalless after the first 8 minutes at Adelaide Oval. O'Connor flicks it wide and Close has got it, racking up some early possessions.
Playing well, Close, defensively and offensively.
He's going to kick it defensively to Duncan, who switches it to the side, Guthrie. Guthrie can go short to Stanley, or awkward little, it was Henderson rather, and he's got himself in a pickle. He had to get down low, he's tackled by Marshall. Now the quick kick, hurries over the top, and Motlop with the opener runs into an open goal. It was a turnover, a horrible kick that came Stanley's way. Todd Marshall wrapped him up, dispossessed, and Port Adelaide pounced. And Port comes out fully charged in this qualifying final. 1 straight 6, the Cats 3 behinds after nearly 9 minutes of play at Adelaide Oval. Mick Moldhouse on Grandstand AFL.
Well, I watched Motlop last week, couldn't beat an egg, let alone an opponent, and now he jumps up 30 yards clear. Lucky there was a turnover because he had no right to be there under the way that the finals are played, but luck's a fortune and great turnover, and Robbie Gray's ability to find a target, albeit on the back of a mistake. But again, when it gets this final football, so many things are unpredictable, aren't they, in terms of players panicking or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and just trying to purely control possession. Mistakes happen in finals, and Port Adelaide pounced on it.
Lysett, the tap down in the middle. Boak went without it. Selwood crashes through, breaks through. Lysett flicked it out, got one high. Port Adelaide fans are going to ride every high tackle, every free kick that goes Joel Selwood's way. He's got it in the middle of the ground. In game 332, equaling Corey Enright tonight as the record holder at the Cats. His kick inside 50, knocked down by Aaliyah. Flicked out by Marshall, slickly away to Boak. Off to Amon, his kick towards the wing. Dixon had it punched away by Henderson. Then he tackles Parfitt and it spills back Port Adelaide's way. Boak by hand to Motlop into the middle of the ground. Bergman waits and it's knocked away from him. Isaac Smith knocked over. And a free kick against Rosie. Free kick to Geelong in the middle of the ground. It's Port by 3 points and the Port fans in full voice.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure there was a free kick there.
Oh, he played it beautifully, didn't he, Mick? Isaac Smith. Might have just put a bit of sugar on that.
Oh, it's a terrible kick by Port for the start off. Just too risky.
To Cameron, who goes long, right to the top of the goal square. Aaliyah's there. Everywhere Geelong's kicked inside 50, Aaliyah's been there. He's been covering some territory. Rebounds back to Smith, gives it to Kolajasny, to Menegola, trying to twist and turn his way from centre half forward is Parfitt. And up and under, and it'll land here for Selwood, who marks with Bergman closing down. Selwood's marked right on 50. He thought about giving it off to the player that was rushing past there in Smith, and now he does give it off. Short, but legal to Jeremy Cameron, who's 10 metres closer on a slight angle.
10 metres closer. Is that a 15-metre kick? 10 metres closer. Cal, I think you've actually...
Hang on to get the tape measure out. He's 15 metres closer.
Right.
No, I think you were right the first time, Cal. That was 10 metres, and Jeremy Cameron just kept moving though. To his credit, kept leading multiple leads and just found that little pocket of space.
So Port with the first goal for the quick reply on the left boot of Jeremy Cameron. He lines up, he sets it on its way, and he has kicked that perfectly. 20 goals, 8 he's kicked from set shots this year. And the big name recruit is having a big impact in a short amount of time in the hoops. Geelong 139, Port Adelaide 1 straight goal. And we've gone 12 minutes in this first term.
Pretty even around the contest at the moment, Mick. It's just a couple of turnovers that have created goals, and we know the obvious one that led to the Motlop goal. Well, it was Motlop who did the kick into the middle that you were talking about, where it's okay to take that kick when it's on, but you really have to punch it in low, get it there quick.
Set it up.
He just hung in the air, didn't it?
Set up for spoil.
And as soon as that was near turned over, I think there was a stoppage after it, it just created pressure back on Port Adelaide. And Geelong were able to get it into Jeremy Cameron, and he certainly lived up to the star billing as a pick-up for the Cats this season.
Laddams has gone into the ruck. He had only eyes for Stanley. Knocked into him. Dangerfield roved it. Tackled. Umpire blows his whistle, pushing the back against Drew. So the Power fans are getting gradually more and more incensed. They've only played 12 and a half minutes.
Are you sure there's only 20,000 in the house, Al?
They're making a lot of noise. Dangerfield kicks inside the 50 to the pack. Lear.
He's been huge to start this
Stood
game.
in front of the pack and intercepted as he's done all season. He kicks out to the left half-back flank and finds Rosie. And Rosie uses it very short. He's got Dersma, still the defensive side of the outer wing.
I think Cal said it before. Every time Geelong has kicked the ball inside 50, Ali's been there.
So Bonner peels off around behind Dersma, accepts the handball, kicks long down the line. Robbie Gray tries to keep it in at half forward. He can't. So it'll be a boundary throw in. There's no one sitting in the first two rows at Adelaide Oval. And then this crowd has been dispersed evenly. Great atmosphere. Adelaide Oval this evening for the start of this 2021 finals campaign. He comes back in. Laddams, now Dersma, tries to break the tackle of Myers, and he does. He just dumps this kick towards Dixon. This time he gets both hands at it. Reading it best off his hands is Robbie Gray. Open goal square, bounces through for their second. Robbie's on fire, and he's got these 20,000 fans up on their feet. Two straight 12, Port Adelaide. Geelong 1-3-9, halfway through the first quarter.
Crumming's fantastic, albeit the fact that Dixon is living up to his finals football of not. He's got iron gloves. He just cannot. He's twice today. He's got his hands to the ball, and they've both just come straight out without any contest from his opponent. But the thing about Port is that they understand where he's coming from, so they get near him. And that's great coverage.
Yeah, that's it. That's the positive out of it. Dixon's creating the contest. Yeah, he wants to be marking them.
Yeah.
But you know that he's going to crash a pack. It's going to come to a predictable part, and that's just classic roving there from Robbie Gray. That's exactly where you want your small forwards. He's done it so many times in so many big moments in his career.
Cameron Ling and Mick Malthouse, your experts on Grandstand AFL. Free kick in the ruck, free kick Geelong. It was going Blitzar's way, playing to advantage. Parfitt gave to Dangerfield, skids a kick inside 50. Rowan's caught by Jonas, got a hand pass out. Parfitt buffets it forward. Dalhouse goes in to win it. Drew gets a hold of him, drags him down 40 metres from the Geelong goal at the Cathedral end of the ground.
I don't know where they'd be without Lear at this stage. He's been outstanding. He's just dropping off Rowan, it appears, at this stage.
Hawkins and Laddams. Laddams knocked it down. Parfitt rove, tackled by Amon, dispossessed. A sling tackle, said the umpire. Dangerous tackle, free kick Geelong against Amon. I'm not sure about that. Parfitt will be the recipient of the free kick, about 43 from goal. No significant angle.
Oh, that is a massive call. Well, given Parfitt is trying to kick the footy, so he's trying to stop, and his head has gone nowhere near the ground.
That is terrible.
Terrible decision.
Yep. And the other thing is, it's a final game. There's got to be pressure on. That is a shocking decision.
Eyes will be bulging in the crowd. What if this goes through? Parfitt has missed, and Port Adelaide fans will feel that is justice. It's punched through for a minor score. The Power leading Geelong by 2 points, and we've played 16 minutes. It's a final in any game of football at any level. That's not a free kick.
That can't be paid.
He's a very experienced umpire too. So, I think he saw the pull around, but didn't see the result.
So McKenzie on the kick in. His nickname's the Cannon. He hasn't got hold of that one. Lux the Fortune. It's just landed in the lap of Marshall in the centre of the ground. Quick handball. Wines was involved, and now Drew. Drew gives it off to Burton out wide. In fact, it was Laddams rather. Dixon goes after, and he tries to get Henderson. Ball spill stays in board here. Dersma handballs backwards over the top to Houston. His handball missed the intended target. Charlie with the fend off on Henderson. Gets it to Marshall with a quick snap from the pocket. In fact, it was Drew. And he's missed that to the near side. Frantic, helter-skelter footy at the moment. 2-1-13, Port Adelaide, Geelong 1-4-10.
It is real finals football. For those that are just listening in, mistakes are made because of finals, and it's going to be the player that stands up with the one touch that will get the ball clear.
Duncan kicks in for the Cats towards the outer wing. Laddams knocked off it by Myers. He fights hard to try and keep it there. Little toe poke from Parfitt, clever. Myers gets it, farms it up by hand to close off to Menegola. Floats a kick around the wing. Jonas there, couldn't get on the end of it. We'll see it over the boundary line. Free kick count 8 Geelong, 2 Port Adelaide through the opening 17 minutes.
You can argue the case there's a couple there that have been pretty ordinary. Yep. One of the ones in the middle, bad bounce, and they rewarded the ruckman who was actually attacking the football. So umpires also make mistakes in finals.
Thrown in. Port Adelaide leading by 3 points. Another free kick. It's going Port's way. High contact. Bronx cheers cued. Laddams a hand pass to Amon. Amon kicks around that wing. He's part of that 40-man All-Australian squad. He kicks to Dixon, who's ditched the iron gloves, and he's got velvet on his hands now. He's 70 from goal.
And he had Henderson Cook there, had him under the ball.
So Charlie's just going to rocket it, asking a lot of Marshall right on the line, who leapt up right in front of that point post, and a wasted kick in the end.
It is, Cal, isn't it? That's not where you want to kick it against
No.
any team, but especially Geelong. They get back there so quickly.
So Port with a 4-point lead. Still got over 8 minutes to play in this first term.
Marshall should have taken that mark though, Lingy. There was another drop mark.
So Duncan to kick in, being given a polite hurry up. Duncan kicks to the outer side back flank, up in front, close, came down hard on his back, didn't mark. Atkins rose for Geelong. A hand pass to Dangerfield on the half-back flank, turned it over. Intercept mark taken by Marshall of Port Adelaide.
This kick's got to go to 20 out. Yeah, that's the better kick.
Inside attacking, 50 to the pack. The target was Wines, who had about 3 cats around him, and they killed that ball over the boundary line, 20 from goal.
It's what Melbourne did in the last quarter last week. Got it to a dangerous part of the ground. A lot of Geelong players fly to spoil. They're trained to do it, so they are susceptible at ground level for those small forwards.
Ball spins back in. Dixon got his hand to it. Wines went to ground. Hurried kick by the Cats defence out of there. Jonas flies. Waiting for it was Hawkins. Little give and go with Atkins. Hawkins got it across half back. And now close. Simpson it is rather. Simpson will have to go in and win it again. It's stolen by Dersma. Kicks hurriedly towards Robbie Gray. Hughes goes to ground. Gray tries to take out a couple of Cats. And then collected was O'Connor. He was taken high, surely. And he was. Listen to the reaction. O'Connor wants to go on with it. He kicks it sideways to Menegola, who's going to put it out in front of Guthrie. It's Myers, who's got plenty of space on the outer wing. Curls the kick back to Hawkins. Hawkins' kick was smothered by McKenzie. Ricochets towards Laddams. Handball out wide to Bonner. Bonner's got time to assess the options from the wing. He kicks it to half forward to a one-on-one, and Henry's able to pick it off for the Cats.
There's probably half a dozen players each team who are rattled by the pressure right now.
Oh, Duncan shouldn't be one of them.
No.
His kick across the top of the 50, switching play, intercepted by Dixon. He kicks inside 15. Marshall plays on from the pocket off the step, misses. Not a lot of pressure on him. It wasn't 15. The mark wasn't paid. He still had time to assess. Put Adelaide by 5 points at the 21-minute mark of the first quarter. Aaron Bryans, can you please sum up that atmosphere at ground level? The Port fans are making a hell of a noise.
It's amazing here, Al. Interestingly for the Power, they haven't had Wines and Boak on the field together for a lot of time. Wines spent most of the opening half of the quarter on the Pine. Now Travis Boak's been stuck there for 10 minutes.
Aaron Bryans on the boundary for us this evening at Adelaide Oval. The Cats just working it casually out of the defensive 50 with a couple of short, sharp kicks. And in the end, the ball's in the hands of Sam Simpson. Sideways to Duncan. Duncan now. He pulls the trigger, goes long down the line. Henderson marks right in front of the benches, and then he pokes that kick, sends it to close, off to Selwood. Selwood to a one-on-one. Hawkins, and there's Aaliyah. Aaliyah's like Superman. He flies through the air and launches himself. And talk about the added help, Cameron Ling. It's one-on-one, Hawkins and McKenzie, and then Aaliyah just soars through and takes the intercepting mark.
Every single time, Cal. Great call. He's had 3 disposals, but he's the most influential player on the ground in this first quarter by a country mile.
And you've got to ask the question, what is Rowan doing?
Nothing.
Rowan can't afford to get near Hawkins. He's got to create his own bit of play 15 to 20 metres away.
Aaliyah went to Burn Jones, who kicked to Laddams. His kick to the wing is intercepted by Duncan. Kicks into the middle. Simpson marks. He's got overlap run. He feeds a hand pass to a running Isaac Smith. His dink kick, not 15. Picked up on the bounce by Myers, who chips to Hawkins. That was just the required 15. Hawkins 40 out directly in front. His second shot of the night. His first to behind.
Remember what he did this time last year, Al? He kicked 5
He did.
behinds with Trent McKenzie on him.
And the previous qualifying final he played against Collingwood, 2019, 4 behinds.
Ooh.
Can he find some accuracy? He's had such a consistent time of it, Hawkins. Just the past 11 seasons, the least number of goals he's kicked, 46. And here is his first tonight. Tomahawks on the board. He lets out a mighty roar. And the sprinkling of Cats fans in the Adelaide Oval are very happy to see Geelong go back to the lead. 2-4-16, plays 2-3-15, and we've played 23 minutes of the first quarter on Grandstand AFL.
It's funny, Mick. We're just watching Chris Scott in the coach's box up and really quite agitated. Watching the replay of how Hawkins got that ball, it was completely different to everything else in this first quarter, the way they've ended. Hawkins was the lead up in the middle of the ground, didn't get used, was actually working back towards goal. The man who was in the perfect spot, if this kick had gone in long again, was Aliir.
Yeah.
So they needed to go a completely different way of using the ball inside forward 50. Otherwise, Aliir was going to do it again.
Yeah, he was. You're right. Good positioning, really good positioning. That's why I say about dropping off. And you can't afford then to think that you as a free player are not going to be used. So they paid a price.
Cats by a point. It's been a pulsating start, and we're going goal for goal as the two ruck go at it in the air, and then Blitzarv's tackles standing up in that tackle Lysette. So we reset and go again. This time Blitzarv's palms it down to Parfitt. Didn't get his clear kick away, so it was stolen then by Boak, who just hacks it forward. Laddams was caught well out of position. Henry playing in front. Short kick defensively. This is Duncan.
Disposal number 12 coming up for Duncan. He's playing that half-back loose ball user.
And he wants to use the middle. Colin Jasny was a precise kick. And then Duncan just rolls around behind him, was maybe ready to accept that short little dinky handball, but Colin Jasny ignored it. So now he's got to flare it wide. Oh, in the Aliir direction. Why would you do that? And he just tossed his direct opponent Rowan aside like a rag doll, and they've moved it quickly, and they've caught the Cats defenders napping because Laddams charges out and marks on his chest. So Aliir gave it to Wines. The 2 All-Australians from last night for Port Adelaide combining, and Ollie Wines on that beautiful right boot with a chest pass to Laddams.
This is a big concern now, how dominant Aliir is. Given Gary Rowan last week, Jake Lever dominated him in the last quarter against Melbourne, and he's taken that form into this game. They need to do something, the Cats, about the Aliir matchup.
So he's about 40 metres out. Peter Laddams, 12-5. He's so accurate, and he continues that accuracy. They call him Pistol Pete. And they skip out now to a 5-point lead. Port Adelaide 3-3-21. Geelong 2-4-16, and we continue this goal-for-goal trend to start this first final at Adelaide Oval. On the boundary, soaking up all of the atmosphere in Adelaide tonight, is Aaron Bryans. Aaron.
Kel, poor Gary Rowan had just made his way back onto the field after copying a spray from Chris Scott down the line. He looked almost shell-shocked and then went straight into a contest with Aliir and lost. It's going to be a rough night ahead for him.
What's worse, being beaten by Aliir on the ground or copying the spray down the phone line? They're two pretty nasty propositions. The way Lear's going at the moment, he's carving up Geelong in the air.
Well, outside of the fact he's marked and marked well, he's double-fisted spoils. I think he's done 2 of those and one big one-fisted. So he's actually impacted 6 times. Geelong have to find a different way from home, which they will, but they have to find it.
Lysett tapped it down. Parfitt roved it for Geelong. Hand pass to Colin Jasny off the back of the square. He paddled, picked up, scrubbed a kick inside the 50. Hawkins came out, couldn't take it. Drew and Selwood fight for it. Dalhouse comes in, nails Drew. Not totally sure he had the ball for parts of that, Willem Drew, but a ball up at centre-half forward for Geelong.
Looks like Fantasia, these sort of players can't get in the game. The opponents are big, strong, too strong for Lingy at this stage.
From the stoppage, Dalhouse over it. Drew there with him, and we'll have another ball up. A lead of 5 points to Port Adelaide, and we've played 27 minutes of the qualifying final.
Tossed in the air, centre half forward here for Geelong. Selwood goes without it. Lysett picks it up. He's dumped into the turf. Scooped up there by Geelong to Dalhouse. A quick hurried kick, bounced off the chest of Hawkins. Too much pressure. Boak with a sweeping handball over the top to Jonas. Spun out of that expertly. Bearing down was Stanley, and then to a one-on-one Dixon and Henderson. It's thumped over. Dixon's given away a free kick. Too high, reaching up over the top.
Well, Henderson didn't know, so he got the gift. Yeah, may have touched his arm, but
that's what the umpire called an arm chop, but it didn't look like it.
So Henderson and Dixon went at it. Henderson wins the free. Long kick towards Hawkins. He can't impact the contest, and the hurried kick goes straight to Burton. Burton of Port Adelaide across half-back goes high to the wing, and a double grabber taken by Mitch Duncan. He's already had an impact on his return game, Alistair, back into this team playing across half-back.
Yeah, first game since round 14 against the Dogs when he injured his knee. Guthrie, a hand pass to Duncan on the wing. Now a hand pass to Buse. Brush 2 tackles. Runs to 50. Buse loads up. Goes long. Stanley and Lysett. Lysett knocks it through for a minor score. A 4-point lead to Port Adelaide approaching quarter time. We've played 28 and a half minutes on Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, Stanley needed to do a lot more there with his body. Just pulled back against Lysett so he couldn't get near the football. That would have gone through had he been able to do that.
Memories of last week. On that defensive goal line, of course, his direct opponent was Max Scorn, who kicked the goal after the siren to win the game. So the kick in from Bonner, Port Adelaide towards Laddams, and now Boak, they're linking up. Motlop's involved, gives it off to Butters. Butters was tackled, goes to the ground, and the tackle affected the kick, and it went to Kolodjasny, who squares it up to centre half back. And Stanley's got it. Reece Stanley has a bit of a dash and then kicks wide to the where the benches are. Unable to take the mark in the air is Blitzarves. Port Adelaide there to swoop, and a couple of quick turnovers as Atkins picks it off for the Cats. Less than a minute to play in this first term. It's Port Adelaide by 4 points, and Atkins has got the ball in his hands across half-back. Short to Blitzarves. Blitzarves wants to flick the switch and go from one side to the other. It's dangerous. Burne-Jones bearing down on Simpson. Ball went over their head. Simpson swoops. He kicks, looking for Dalhouse, but Aliyah's there. Aliyah with the Sherrin in his hand and 20 seconds to go. Can they score a goal? He kicks to Amon all by himself. He glides across the midfield and then he toe pokes it. Almost it went to Charlie Dixon. Wearing it is Rosie, and Rosie goes for goal. In fact, it's Fantasia. It was Fantasia. So the quick hurried kick bounced off Dixon, and Horacio Fantasia is able to swoop and put through Port Adelaide's fourth. 4-3-27, Geelong 2-5-17, a lead of 10 points, but more importantly, Mick Moldhouse, Horacio Fantasia, who's barely touched it in the first term, snares a goal with 6 seconds left on the clock before quarter time.
Spot on, Kel. Fantasia and Dalhouse, both small forwards for the respective clubs, have touched the ball once each. And Fantasia didn't look like getting anywhere near that football because his opponents have been too big for him, too strong, taking him away from the contest. That's the only one that's actually looked like being at the foot of the pack at the right time.
Biggest lead of the game, 10 points. We've had 5 lead changes in the first quarter. For the first time in the match, though, Port Adelaide with back-to-back goals. Stanley and Lysett. Lysett coming on the angle. Lysett in the conventional position, and the bounce anything but conventional. Perhaps it is conventional given the number of bounces that are askew. Make what you will of that. Thrown in the air, Lysett knocks it down. Guthrie couldn't get it. Stanley's little hand pass to no one, then he was held. And that's the 11th free kick for Geelong in the first quarter, and one that won't be used unless Reece Stanley thinks he can have a shot from the centre circle. He's gesturing to the umpire with a smile on his face saying, "Let me take the kick." Reece Stanley seems to think he's got 80 metres in him. The umpire's, well, he's calling the boy who cried wolf there. He's not going to give him the opportunity. 4-3-27 to 2-5-17. It is Port Adelaide leading Geelong by 10 points at quarter time of the qualifying final. The goal kickers for Port Adelaide, Motlop, Gray, Fantasia and Laddams, while for Geelong, Cameron and Hawkins have kicked opening term goals. Hope you're enjoying the coverage on Grandstand AFL. You can get in touch with us anytime throughout the night, 0437 774 774. This is the qualifying final unfolding on Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio, ABC News Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Arts, politics and culture from a range of Indigenous perspectives on Speaking Out.
We're seeing a lot of our people, young people, going away. We should be guiding them.
We must have a country to call our own.
A lot of our women were taking their children back into the bush and hiding.
Speaking Out with Larissa Berendt, Sundays at 9 p.m. on ABC Radio.
The 2021 AFL Final Series. Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Duncan switches it to the side, Guthrie. Guthrie can go short to Henderson, and he's got himself in a pickle. He had to get down low. He's tackled by Marshall. Now the quick kick hurries over the top, and Motlop with the opener runs into an open goal. Duursma tries to break the tackle of Myers, and he does. He just dumps this kick towards Dixon. This time against both hands, and reading it best off his hands is Robbie Gray. Open goal square, bounces through for their second.
Duncan kicks into the middle. Simpson marks. He's got overlap run. He feeds a hand pass to a running Isaac Smith. His dink kick, not 15, picked up on the bounce by Myers, who chips to Hawkins. Kick 46. And here is his first tonight. Tomahawks on the board. He lets out a mighty roar.
The 2021 AFL Finals Series on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
What a special time of year it is. Finals in the AFL and two big teams, two powerful clubs going at it. And at quarter time, a 10-point lead to Port Adelaide in a match that has seen 5 lead changes through the opening term. May that trend carry on throughout the night. We could be in for something very special. Alistair Nicholson calling the action tonight with Kelly Underwood, Cameron Ling and Mick Malthouse. Aaron Bryans is on the boundary with a throng of Port Adelaide fans who've, it's fair to say, have been a little agitated in the first term because Geelong has received 11 free kicks to 4 in the first quarter, and the Port fans did not appreciate that in any way, shape or form. On 0437 774 774. Love your work, guys. Thank you very much. Turn down the crowd, Mike. We can't hear the commentary, says one fan. So clearly the atmosphere is too much for some. It's hard to turn down something when it's so loud. It's fair to say that the 20,000 at the Adelaide Oval are making a hell of a noise. Hi, team. Thanks to ABC and to Grandstand AFL for this footy season. Good to hear, Aaron. Who is the player at Port that does the bow and arrow? May the better side win tonight, says Fran from Melbourne. That is Xavier Duursma. Fran, we'll wait and see if he can kick a goal and pull out his trademark move and celebration in the aftermath. And Dean reckons the second biggest disposals for Geelong goes to the umpires with 10. Dean, they got a late one too. They got 11 for the term, so thanks for your text. And Rod from Hobart, don't like to be negative, but a certain Port forward, in my opinion, is not up to AFL standard. Alir has been outstanding, says Rod. I wonder who he's referring to there. That only leaves
forward. I'm not
a Port forward. He'd probably go Marshall. Would he be saying Marshall, you reckon?
Oh, I don't know.
All right, Rod, if you're going to throw that out there, we need a little more information. Lingy, my 7-year-old son wants to know who was tougher, Max Rook or Joel Selwood, says Riley.
I am smart enough to not touch that question with a 50-foot pole.
Hey, you're not paid to sit on the fence. Come on.
With those two, I'm not paid enough, Cal. I'm scared of both of those men, so I'm going to sit on the fence.
Oh, okay. Now, sum up the first term for us if you could, or are you...
I will say Rookie's crazier than Sal, so maybe I'm more scared of him, so I'll say Rookie. But
Joel tougher, Rookie crazier.
Yes.
Put the two together and you've got an extremely dangerous proposition.
You've got a wonderful couple of teammates there. You're right.
Oh, you got the glint in the eye, Cameron Ling. Mick Malthouse, sum up the first term for us.
Well, it's an interesting first term for a start off. A lot of mistakes which you expect in a first final. Some players that you expect to get a lot more of the football haven't been getting it. Not a lot of possessions, 86 to 85 respectively, from that's Port and Geelong, so only one difference. Inside 50s, 13 each. Not massive stats by any stretch of the imagination, and finals football brings that. That's why you need your really tough players to be able to play tough football. At the moment, Alir is dominating down at one end, Mitch Duncan is dominating at the other.
In a different way, though, Mick.
Different way.
Mitch is being
the player with
given the ball and saying, "Here you go, you kick it," uncontested marks. And Alir's controlling everything.
Exactly, and Lingy, 14 positions. Duncan is outstanding. If you went to Alir, he's only had 5, and I say only. That's not quite right. Only 5 kicks with 4 marks, 4 contested football, but 3 or 4 big punchbacks, which were in the air and he's protecting the smaller backs. I can't get it. I can't really get a feeler for the middle at the moment. It just appears to me that no one is really dominating. I thought Lysette would really be the dominating part. He hasn't physically kicked or hand passed it, but what he's done is probably been able to wrestle Stanley, which is interesting because I wouldn't have thought that Stanley would stand up to him, but Geelong have actually dominated the stoppages 9-6. That's because Lysette has been on the receiving end of Stanley jumping over him. And it's only been Laddams comes in that Laddams actually got over the top of him. So that's an interesting one. Interesting, again, the two big forwards of Geelong have kicked their goals.
Yeah, and you mentioned that finals pressure, Mick. Said before, right now there's probably 6 or 7 players on each team really struggling and fumbling and making mistakes. They need to settle into the game now.
Port by 10 points at the start of the second term. Stanley won it down. Guthrie may have taken Gray without the ball. It comes free of the pack to Selwood. He got it towards Simpson, knocked out of his hands. Working hard for Port Adelaide was Houston to slap it out. It spills to Dangerfield. Off to Selwood. High kick from the middle towards centre half forward. Back with a flight. Dursman so courageous. He was hammered by Cameron. And he's going to get up, Xavier Dursman. Back with the flight. Finals-like courage. He just made a statement to his entire team.
Wow, he doesn't protect himself though, does he? He just goes so blindly and so bravely.
Isaac Smith took it on the half-forward flank. He kicks to the pocket. Hawkins on the lead. Couldn't mark. And he's been pushed in the back, says the umpire. Ooh. The ball went over the boundary line and Hawkins is going to have the free kick 45 metres from goal. He'll go back to left half forward to take it. He got a little flick round the eye from Burton and a push in the back as well.
Where the black box is.
Tom Hawkins has already kicked one in game 300 for the Cats. He became the 6th Geelong player to reach the 300 game milestone. He has been a champion of the competition.
Not an easy shot from here, but he does drag the ball from left to right.
He only took a step and a half before kicking because he really couldn't go back far. He was right up against the fence and he pulled the kick hard left out of bounds on the full. So no score to the Geelong spearhead and the margin stays 10 points Port Adelaide's way, 4-3-27 to 2-5-17 through 90 seconds of the second term.
We've just seen the replay of Xavier Dursman. He's so brave, but he does not protect himself at all the way he goes at the footy.
So Burton had it in the back pocket. Another foray forward here for Port Adelaide and a series of short, sharp kicks working the angle. Gets it to Jonas and then they share it around. So Houston's involved and now Burton. They work it round the outer side.
No,
there's a 50.
No, sorry, Cal, that is brilliant by the Port Adelaide player there, forcing that 50.
It was Rosie, and they've played on, they've worked it down the ground, and Travis Boak all by himself inside 50. The kick from Rosie hits up Boak.
Yes, okay.
It was Butters, in fact, who got the kick away.
We think it's okay.
Butters in the red boots. They worked it down. It was Rosie that drew the 50.
15 gone!
And Travis Boak can make the Cats pay here.
Yeah, it's brilliantly done by Port. It's too harsh a penalty, but nonetheless it wasn't taken anyway.
So right on 50, Boak, who kicked a couple last week, he hangs that out to the right. A misfire from him. A replay of Chris Scott's reaction in the coach's box. He was confused as to what the 50 was for.
It's clear as day. The Port Adelaide player running from behind, trying to get the handball received, running with the Geelong player, clever enough to split to one side at the last second, which forced the Geelong player to go the other side into the protected zone at 50 every time.
Isaac Smith kicked in, Wines, too strong for Dangerfield in the marking contest, took it, gave to Bonner. Bonner inside the 50, Blitzarves belts it away from Dixon towards the boundary line in the pocket. And over it goes, 25 metres from the Port Adelaide goal. A free kick for a push in the back going Geelong's way. I'm not sure you want to be an umpire tonight. Left back pocket, Duncan the free kick for the Cats.
Bit of gentle feedback for Mitch there.
More than a few Port Adelaide fans out of their seats at the moment. Duncan racking up possessions on return. He kicks to the back flank to the pack. It's belted away from the pack. Rowan and Dangerfield there for Geelong. Over it goes. 70 from the Port Adelaide goal, going to the Cathedral end in the second term. The Power, a game-high 11-point lead for Port.
Some of these matchups from stoppages, you've got Wines standing next to Dangerfield quite a bit. Boak and Selwood next to each other. Mouth-watering matchups right across the ground. Ball tossed back in. Lysette straight down to Dangerfield. He's kicked straight into Dersma, who's been brilliant just to stay out there. And now Dersma with his head over the footy. It spills. Butters goes without it. Butters' second effort. He's got it trapped underneath him. He's tackled by Smith. They pile in from all angles. Guthrie trying to scuttle it out. And now O'Connor gets it, but he's tackled by Rosie. Lysette comes in and just throws his body around, and O'Connor is in a Port Adelaide sandwich. Rosie one side and Lysette the other. They bounce back up. Stanley flew. Stanley flew in the air, but the umpire claims with both his arms he held Lysette out. So it'll be free kick to the Port Adelaide ruckman. He's a couple of kicks out here, Lingy. He's just going to pop it into the heart of the 50. Ask Charlie to run and jump, and Charlie is up to the task. Dixon with two hands wrapped around the Sherrin directly in front of goal.
Well, that kick was fantastic because he had to run onto the ball. And
it was like he was going fishing, wasn't it, Lysette? Yeah. He just swung and he hung it out there. You're laughing at me, Alistair, because you are a fisherman.
No, I enjoyed your technique on the cast there, Kelly. That was.
And he just hung it in the air and he asked Charlie to run and jump and mark. Can he finish it off? Can Dixon convert from directly in front? He can't.
This will hurt Port. They've missed two sitters, Boak and Dixon, 40 metres out, almost directly in front. This could come back to haunt them.
So Port by 12 points. That is a poor miss.
So Duncan on the kicking duties as he's been all night for Geelong. Goes to the back flank. Dangerfield in front. Takes a two-grab mark for the Cats. So Patrick Dangerfield for possession number 7. Port fans on behalf of Crows fans are giving him the usual reception as the kick goes inside the 50 for Henderson. It comes off the pack to Motlop, who kicks for his second and makes the Cats pay for an error again. 2 goals for Motlop, who seems to enjoy playing against his former team, and the lead has blown out to a game-high 18 points to Port Adelaide. 6-minute mark, second term. Port Adelaide 5-5-35. Geelong 2-5-17.
Credit Charlie Dixon with that goal there. He had to fight through one Geelong player who's trying to block him out of creating the turnover from the switch kick from Dangerfield. He almost threw him out of the way, fighting and scrapping to be able to bring that ball to ground. Created the spill, which then led to the Steve Motlop goal. Lockie Henderson dropping a chest mark he normally would take, and Stevie Motlop, always the opportunist, can pounce onto a loose ball inside 50.
Stephen Motlop, Mick, he kicked 3 straight in the corresponding qualifying final last year. That was his best game of the season. He's got 2 already, back underway in the centre. Menegola able to jump on it. Handballs to Parfitt, standing start. It'll be a bouncing ball almost to centre half forward. Burne-Jones got there, waiting for it to bounce in the end. It was Henry who just thumps it clear. Ball in dispute. Parfitt beats Spoke to it. Off to Guthrie. He just spirals the ball. Bonner was there. Bonner's tackled, and he's tackled by O'Connor. And the umpire says it'll be a ball up. These Port Adelaide fans are livid, and they've got an 18-point lead. So they don't like the calls of the umpires. So another stoppage. Centre half forward. Bergman tries to slide on in. Houston tackles. Myers to the ground. Myers appeals for a free. It pops up the back to Lysette, who just scooped it up to Boak. Boak with a high ball. They fly in from all angles. Henry did well in the air. Fantasia fires off a handball to Ollie Wines. Who's running? It's Stevie. It's Stevie Motlop. He stops. He props. He kicks towards goal, and Rosie couldn't take the ball.
Has to be a free kick.
Rosie should have been a free kick. O'Connor took him away illegally.
That's unbelievable.
And these Port Adelaide fans are standing up. They've ripped the mask off. They've got a beer in one hand and they're pointing at the umpire with the other.
Had to be a free kick.
They cannot believe O'Connor wasn't paid a free kick, which would have been just 10 metres out. Instead, it's a stoppage in the forward pocket, and Hughes casually walks it over.
Yeah, I think this is a good reason to have your best umpires, but there's been 3 or 4 shockers to 10 minutes into the second quarter.
That is front-on contact in a marking contest every day of the week. That is a horrible miss by the umpires.
Dixon knocks it down from the throw-in. Boak on the boundary line, kept it in, gave to Wines. From the tight angle on his left boot, he snaps, but it's too narrow. Behind to Port Adelaide. A 19-point lead at the 9-minute marker. And Mick, you'd have to say that all of those decisions have gone against Port Adelaide.
Yeah, every one of them. Yeah, there's been very few that even look remotely like that.
Port Adelaide trying to keep it in play in the defensive 50 here. In just a moment of magic from Isaac Smith right up against the boundary line. He's able to beat a couple and the kick got away. Aaliyah had it, but then Myers got him. And Myers catches Aaliyah. He's been the first man out there tonight that's been able to stop Aaliyah, who dominated in that opening turn. So Myers, defensive side of the outer wing. He kicks to the wing where Aaliyah is, and Rowan, did he push him in the back? The umpire lets it go. Hawkins tried to fend off. It spills the way of Bonner, waiting at the back of the pack. This is Amon, who kicks from one side of the ground to the other, and Bergman's able to mark at half back.
Bergman.
I have to answer your question, Cal. Yes, he did push Aaliyah in the back. Gary Rowan gave him a shove fair and square in the back, and the umpire missed another one.
Yeah, as El said, it just seems to be the one club, which is really disappointing. If there's mistakes made, let it be even at the end. But the highlight so far has been the lack of free kicks going to Port.
It was work to Motlop on the wing. He kicks to the pack. Kolajasny over the top of Dixon, sees it over the boundary line. 40 metres from the Port Adelaide goal. Port Adelaide's got control of this game at the moment. How are they doing it?
Well, they're actually winning the stoppages, no question about that. And by winning the stoppages, they're putting pressure on the forward. Geelong have held up pretty well, albeit that's two very ordinary kicks for goal.
Stanley tapped it down towards the 50. Parfitt tackled. Bergman gets a hold of it for Port. Hand pass to Rosie in traffic. Got it to Gray. He shoots a hand pass through the congestion to Drew, who worked it beautifully. A floating kick to the top of the 50. Bonner, a squaring ball. It's off the outside of his boot. Henderson back with a flight. Tapped it down. Front and centre row. Fantasia pops it through and punches the air as he runs off in celebration. It was almost like a piece of tap work in the ruck. And the fleet-footed Fantasia crumbed it perfectly and put Port Adelaide out by 25. 6-6-42 to 2-5-17. We've played 11 and a half minutes of the second term on Grandstand AFL.
And with that ball living in Port Adelaide's forward line, now the Cats defenders are on the back foot, Mick. They're feeling the pressure and the nerves, and mistakes are creeping in. Reality, Mick, is that this game could and should be over.
Yeah.
Those two shots at goal that you're talking about,
yeah.
The free kick that should have gone to Connor Rosie, which you'd think he would have finished off with a goal.
Well, he's metre out.
A metre out. Add 3 more goals to Port Adelaide's score, and the game's practically out of Geelong's reach at that stage. So Port are dominating right now.
It's 6-1 inside 50s, Lingy. We've gone about 7.5 real minutes. So 6-1 inside 50s. You don't win, not even that there. A bad bounce, but they've played it. And this is what I don't get. If it bounces outside those circles, it's going to be called back. That was outside the circles. The umpire's straight under pressure.
Cats have kicked the last 4. Port Adelaide's kicked the last 4. They lead it by 25 points. Parfitt wins the free in the centre, kicks it to half forward. McKenzie jumps on it, pounces, kicks along the ground, and it's a good one as well. Butters turns, spins, awkward kick, but still they're able to use it. Wines has got on the end of it. He gives it off to Houston in a short kick, and Rosie's unchecked. Buse, he got a bit of separation on his direct opponent, Buse. And Connor Rosie, who should have been awarded a free kick a few moments ago, which would have been a certain goal, has now marked directly in front, 45 metres out.
Well, it's just quick ball movement, taking a chance with their hand passes. Geelong trailing their players in, not really putting real physical pressure on them. Even just there, Selwood just running next door, and you've got Smith running next door to him. Instead of running in front to see if he can block it off, and this is what happens.
So this has been a significant surge. Oh, it was touched. It was touched by the man on the mark, and now Colin Jasney's got it in the defensive goal square. Duncan runs into his own teammate, Menegola, and loses control of the footy. It'll be a boundary throw in 10 metres around from Port Adelaide's goal. Aaron Bryans is sitting in position 1A. Aaron, how's it going?
Kelly, Mark O'Connor's getting some work done on his left hamstring. Sean Higgins is actually warming up the medical sub for the Cats. He's just taken his jumper on off as well, so I'll let you know what the go is there.
Thanks, Aaron. Stoppage inside the Port Adelaide attacking 50. Selwood, Dixon fighting for it. Amon comes through with the ball. He's tackled, dispossessed. Wines cracks in Atkins as well. That's 2 Bulls going at it. Hand pass came out from Wines. Pinched by Duncan of Geelong. Kicks to vacant space on the left half-back flank. If this goes out, he's in trouble. It dribbles, and that's a desperate bit of work from Isaac Smith.
He touched it.
He grew up in the Wagga region, and that was The cross code there, a bit of AFL and rugby league coming together as he slid across to score a try. Right half forward for Port Adelaide, out of sight of the ground. Aaron Bryans.
Our ice on the left hamstring for Mark O'Connor. He's done for the night. Sean Higgins has been activated.
Well, this has been a difficult quarter for Geelong, no doubt. Isaac Smith from the back of the pack moves at the Cats' way on the outer wing. It bounces up over the head of Cameron and over the boundary line it goes. Slightly the Cats' attacking side of the wing, with a 25-point lead to Port Adelaide through 14 minutes of the second.
And that takes away one of the options for the Cats now. With Wines up to 12 disposals, Travis Boakes an absolute star. You can't throw Mark O'Connor onto one of them and play a tagging role.
So balls come back into play. Dangerfield needs to lift. He does well here. He gets it to Myers. And then Myers hits up Jeremy Cameron, who will turn around and have a set shot well within 50, well within range. And watching Sean Higgins just warm up on the boundary at the moment. So he's about to be activated as the sub, no Mark O'Connor.
Very aggressive play by Port. They're all forward, and Cameron snuck in the back. And once there's a turnover, it's an easy kick.
Jeremy Cameron's already got one tonight. He's lining up for his second at the River Torrens end of the stadium. He tries to cautiously guide that one through, and it just grazes the goal post and through for a minus score. So the margin was 25. He could have got it back to 19. Instead, it's hovering, and it's on 24 points. We've gone 15 minutes in the second term.
It's Geelong's first score of the quarter. The kick-in was marked by Byrne Jones. He kicks towards the wing. Alear and Dangerfield off hands. Parfitt got it tackled, dispossessed. Oh, there's a physical challenge. And another free kick as Drew got into Dangerfield, and Dangerfield the free kick, the attacking side of the wing for the Cats. 16 free kicks to 5. That one was certainly there for Geelong. Defensive kick to Henry. Henry settling out of side of Adelaide Oval.
It's interesting that Dangerfield twice has gone back with his kicks. He's not finding targets in front of him at the moment.
Usually a territory taker. It goes back to Atkins. Through the corridor he runs and kicks to half forward, close up in front. Punched away by Jonas. Henderson couldn't gather. Close got it out to Dalhouse, dribbles a kick to the edge of 50. Bonner comes to meet it for Port Adelaide. Off the left half-back flank, he kicks it out of bounds on the full. And a free kick to Geelong at the interchange. Alistair Nicholson, Kelly Underwood, Cameron Ling, Mick Malthouse and Aaron Bryans, your call team for the qualifying final. A 4-goal lead to Port Adelaide.
They led it by 10 points at quarter time. We've got 9 minutes to play in this first half. Short, sharp kick, Duncan, who's to possession number 18. He's able to hit up his good mate, the 300 gamer tonight, Tom Hawkins. That's good news for Cat fans. Bad news is he's a long way out from home. He's just going to pop it up and ask them all to run and jump. Problem is, no teammates did that. All out of position, and it allows the lanky Laddams to take an easy relieving defensive mark.
He's had a pretty interesting back end of the season, Laddams. He's been very, very effective in front of goals, and also a great backup for a ruck.
So kick sideways to McKenzie, who then goes straight down the wing towards Dixon and Marshall. The targets, as soon as it hits the deck, it's all Port Adelaide. Oh, look at Boak cruising through, gives it off to Gray. Rare fumble, magic little handball pickup, gives it off to Boak. Boak then hits up a teammate in Butters, who can get it over the top. And Fantasia takes an uncontested mark, closer to goal. 45-degree angle, puts his hand up straight away and says, let's slow it down, boys. I'm going to back myself in from here and see if I can kick my third goal before half-time.
And as soon as Port Adelaide get it to the middle part of the ground, they're being so aggressive, flicking the ball around, taking the corridor. And now we're seeing the impact of no Tom Stewart for the Cats. Those Geelong defenders, so reactive, can't cover for each other, not as well organised, because they don't have Tom Stewart running everything back there and being as effective. And the Port Adelaide forwards, they can feel it, they sense it.
He's in the right forward pocket, Fantasia. He's had 3 disposals for 2 straight goals. Let's make it 4 disposals for 2-1. Right across the face for Fantasia. A chance to make it a 30-point lead, which would have been the biggest lead of the night, Mick Malthouse.
Well, it would have been, but there's 3 easy shots by... And we're going to go back to the other end too. Cameron missed one, hit the post, so teams are missing, but Port have been dominating. One of those 3 goes through. That going, it's far from over, Lingy, as we saw from last week.
Henderson kicks to the wing, and a goal is kicked through the pack. Byrne Jones outpoints Dalhouse, marks and kicks defensively to centre half-back. Burton to the outer side wing. Bergman's all on his own here for Port Adelaide. He plays on, Dangerfield goes to him. Kicks Port to the half-forward flank. Fantasia goes early, rises on Duncan. It clears Duncan and Fantasia and goes over the boundary line. A throw in. 45 metres from the Port Adelaide goal at the Cathedral end.
So 2 goals for Port Adelaide this quarter to 1 behind.
2 could have been easy 4 at the stage. But anyway, it hasn't happened. So they stay in the games along.
Blitzarves edged out Laddams in ruck, took possession, tackled, dispossessed by Drew Henderson. Got it for Geelong, a hand pass to Selwood, off to Atkins, his ball into the middle. Should have been marked for Port Adelaide. Houston dropped it close, got it, hand pass to Menegola. A sweeping hand pass now to Buse. From the AFL logo, kicks inside the 50. Beautiful pass to Cameron. Got taken over the shoulder, didn't complete the mark. Did brush his opponent, use his non-preferred right, and Bonner collected it on the bounce with a metre before the goal line. Jeremy Cameron lost his boot. So much happened there, including the behind to Geelong. The margin 24 points to Port at the 20-minute mark. Thought that should have been a free kick to Jeremy Cameron.
Well, he lost his left boot, the all-important left boot. All at sea, Jeremy Cameron. Goal kickers for the Cats. Cameron with 1, Hawkins with 1. They were both in that first quarter. So 20 minutes gone in the second. They haven't got a goal as Dixon rises high on the broadcast wing. Can't pull in a mark. Close. Handballs out in favour of Duncan. A rare fumble, and he's coughed it up here. Dersma, quick-fire handball to Lysett. His handball put Burn-Jones under the pump. Boat's been everywhere. Handballs here to Bonner. Back to Todd Marshall. Standing start. Burn-Jones with a little bit of space. He's a wobbly kick. Boak again. Charges through. Gee, the veteran's been getting better and better with age. To Wines. And Wines' kick is smothered by Menegola over the boundary line. Travis Boak. Where's his speed come from?
Oh, and he's so clean. He's the one when so many others are fumbling, and we're seeing heaps of mistakes because of that finals pressure. Boak has been clean every time with his ground balls.
I don't see so many players kick the ball into their direct opponents, Lingy, and that's because they don't go back far enough on the mark.
Lysett wins it down. Wines underneath. Wobbly kick inside the 50. Collar Jasny had a fumble. Then a little soccer. Wines farmed it up to Motlop. Slapped out of his hands by Rowan. Picked up by Blitzarves of Geelong. Uses his left boot. Kicks to the wing. That's a good kick on his non-preferred. And Close takes the mark. Centre wing in front of the interchange. Port Adelaide 6-7-43. Geelong 2-7-19. We're at the 22-minute mark of the second quarter as the short pass comes to Myers. Geelong has probably been lucky to find itself only 4 goals down. Could they score against the run of play to reduce the margin? Myers has kicked. Hawkins has marked that, but he's marked it beyond the boundary line. It's out on the full.
Lingy, is this slow and stop-start by Geelong deliberate, or they've got no other choice because of the pressure that's coming from Port Adelaide?
It's the way they want to play anyway, but I think they need just to feel the ball in their hands and take pace off the game, because Port Adelaide are splitting through them every time. They need to do it.
So the kick from Port Adelaide to the wing, it was picked off here by Rowan, who handballed over the top. Amon's given away a free kick. Again, he's done that a few times tonight. So the Cats now in the hands of Selwood. He tried to charge it into Cameron. Simpson flew in front, missed the mark, and it's going to be a free kick against Port Adelaide. Going to Simpson directly in front, and Port Adelaide fans are confused and irate. So it was Bonner for a push in the back on Joel Selwood as he got his kick away.
Well, that's 2 in a row. Totally undisciplined by Port. Both free kicks were there, because it doesn't matter how much who it is and what it is, they were both there. So Port will pay a penalty over this.
Here's Sam Simpson. He's only kicked 1 goal for the season so far, but he buries that one from 30 metres out on a tightish angle. And Sam Simpson, an unlikely goal kicker for the Cats, delivers the much-needed first one of this second term. And they drag the margin back to 18 points. Geelong 3-7-25, Port 6-7-43. And Port Adelaide's absolutely dominated this term, but they haven't been able to put it on the scoreboard, and a couple of ill-disciplined acts mean it's only 18 points in it.
Well, that's right, Cal. The margin could be so much more for Port Adelaide if they'd kicked those set shots and a free kick paid here or there. Mick's right, both of those free kicks are there. But then you look at the free kick count for the first half, and it's 18-5. My only argument with that last one on Selwood there, the umpire called push in the back.
So if it is, it's got to go back.
It's got to go back to where Selwood kicked it, not downfield.
That's right.
The previous one was called downfield and was rightly called that.
Perfect high bounce in the middle. Stanley tapped it down. Gray had it, lost it. Ricochets to Selwood. He gets a hand pass out to Stanley. Cats coming again. Hand pass out in front of Parfitt. He's got overlap over the top. It's close. A hand pass to Simpson. Simpson feeds it infield to Stanley. 45 out. Off to Myers. Myers' kick doesn't have any penetration. Hawkins forces the contest. Gets it to ground level. Closer hand pass. Off to Smith. In the pocket. Left foot snap. Looked a good one. Jonas saw it through for a minor score. A 17-point lead to Port Adelaide. 25 played of the second term of the qualifying final on Grandstand AFL on ABC Sport.
Everything's evened up too. Inside 50s, 8-10. Cats have had more possessions this quarter. It just looks like they've dominated Port, but it just shows you if you don't make the scoreboard count for you, and then it does even up.
So Tom Jonas really flared that one wide, made Burne-Jones work for it, got the kick up the wing. And Aliir was there, he couldn't dominate in the air like he did in the first term, and Ollie Wine's happy to see it over, but that first quarter really belonged to Aliir, the first South Sudanese footballer to be named All-Australian last night. He's got to be the recruit of the year. What a fantastic story and a fantastic role model. 43 plays 26, Port Adelaide lead. It's a boundary throw in on the outer side. It's stumped back over the line by Scott Lysette.
As you say, Kel, he dominated. He hasn't had a possession this quarter. The Cats have used a different method of going in. Mind you, it's been very late going in, so they didn't touch it in the side at the front 50 for the first 10 minutes.
High tackle. Port Adelaide.
Free kick to Port Adelaide. High tackle. There's a tackle in the ruck contest. So Lysette's got it. He's going to handball casually over to his teammate in Houston, and then Wines with the penetrating kick into the pocket. He goes over the head of Dixon. Waiting at the back was Marshall, and he snaps casually off a foot, and he buries it from the right forward pocket. Marshall in cruise control. Port Adelaide 7-7-49, Geelong 3-8-26. Margins back out to 23 points.
Mick, as a coach, which one irritates you more, when a player slips over or when defenders let the ball get over the back when they should spoil it to the front?
Well, I tell you what, it's a line ball, but if you allow your man in behind you, then you need to be grabbed by the ear, walked into a room by yourself and take the other players out because you want to say something to him, and it's not very nice.
It was just, and
if
you do leave your opponent like Geelong did then, Marshall, you have to spoil the ball. You have to impact the contest.
Smash it like Lear in the first quarter. That's right.
Sitting next to Mick Moldhouse, did you just get the forefinger and the thumb and just squeeze them together like he literally had someone by the ear?
Keep your headphones on your ears.
That
Al.
looked a well-practiced move, Mick Moldhouse.
That's an exaggeration. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
Geelong did come from 21 points down against Port Adelaide in the second term in round 13, but this has got a different feel about it at the moment. Another free kick in the middle of the ground going to Geelong. Higgins, the medical sub's going to take it. O'Connor off with a hamstring injury. Higgins kicks inside the 50 to full forward. Aliir up, went through his hands. Houston Rose for Port. A hand pass to Burton. Now a hand pass away to Burne-Jones. His floating ball is out of bounds on the full. Free kick Geelong, 70 from goal at right half forward.
I hate focusing on free kicks and umpires all the time, but Robbie Gray had a free kick paid against him in the middle of the ground for holding the ball when his head was ripped off. It should have been a free kick to him.
Blitzarv's kick to Higgins. Higgins kicks inside the 50 again. Hawkins off his hands, rove by Cameron. Cameron tackled, dispossessed, holding the ball. Guthrie emerged, thinks about a shot. Better not kick it or it'll be 50. It's coming back Port Adelaide's way.
Are you sure it's Port's way?
It's Port's way, Lingy. Okay. It's Port's way, just for the 7th time in the contest. Kelly Underwood on Grandstand AFL.
Burton to Rosie, and then Rosie off to the run of Burton, who kept going. He set up this passage of play. No Cats players going near him as he crosses the midfield, and he kicks to Butters. Butters has lost his man. It was one-on-one. Didn't catch who his man was behind there, Lingy.
No, he slipped over and let Butters do whatever he liked.
Don't tell Mick Moldhouse a player has slipped over.
No, I think Lockie Henderson, but it could be Kolajasny. Kolajasny it was, lost him completely and then did the old token slip over to make it look as though that's what cost him, but he was already beaten. Butters had made the move on him. It was a nice kick and it was going to be an easy mark either way.
So Zach Butters, the 20-year-old, lining up, 45-degree angle, only 40 metres out. Stutter step on the approach, sends it on its way. and he converts, and that is a savage blow. 47 seconds out from half-time. Port now lead it by 29 points, 8-7-55. Geelong 3-8-26. The biggest lead of the night, Mick Malthouse.
Well, Kel, for all the dominance, it's only just the last couple of minutes, those last two goals that have actually been felt for the scoreboard when you look at 4 goals to 1. But I'll go say this, Lingy, I know it's your Cats through and through, but you'd have to be horrified the way the ball comes out of the back line or out of the Geelong forward line without any resistance, where they're able to run, and you know they're going to link with a hand pass, and yet the player drops off thinking, oh, look, I don't need to go because he's going to go back and kick it. And time again, they've just come out of that back line and then had space in front of them to use the football. So
I agree with everything you're saying. In Port Adelaide, they feel it, they know it, so they are prepared to take the game on every chance they get.
Bounces off skew in the middle and was recalled. Let's go to Aaron Bryans on the boundary.
Another injury concern for the Cats. Jed Buse getting his right quad checked out by the physio.
It's not getting any better for Geelong. Out of the middle of the ground, picked up by Wines, hand pass missed bug. Duncan gets it for Geelong, a hand pass to Menegola. Now a hand pass to Stanley, pushing the back player to advantage. Stack up another one, kick inside the 50. Aliir dropped what he might have taken there. Hawkins fighting on his stomach to slap it out. Parfitt gets it, runs into Aliir, dragged down. And the umpire says holding the ball. He tried to take the tackler on, said the ump. A free kick to Aliir at fullback for Port Adelaide. 31 played second term. Is Port Adelaide leading the game comfortably. 29 points, as big as the margin has been. Aliir kicks to the wing. On the interchange side, Dixon up in front. Hands to it, couldn't quite complete the mark. Wines got it again, gave to Amon, off to Boak. Boak kicks off a step, and that is half-time. Commanding from Port Adelaide and really worrying for Geelong, and on the injury front as well. It gets worse, Aaron Bryans.
Lockie Henderson is clutching at his elbow after that collision in the marking contest there, and he's in a lot of pain. The physios have rushed out to him now.
Just seeing a shot too of Jed Buse on the boundary. It looked like his hamstring or thigh was being strapped by the doctor, so we'll keep a close eye on that. Already Mark O'Connor subbed out of the game with a hamstring injury. Sean Higgins into the game, and at half-time, Port Adelaide leading 8-7-55 to 3-8-26. The umpires are exiting the arena, as you can hear in the background. In that term, Port Adelaide kicked 4 goals 4 and dominated. Geelong managed 1 goal 3. The goal kickers for Port, 2 to Fantasia, 2 to Motlop, and singles to Marshall, Gray, Butters and Laddams. While for Geelong, a goal each to Cameron, Hawkins and Simpson. Just double checking those Port Adelaide goal kickers. So 2 to Fantasia, 1 to Gray, 1 to Marshall, 1 to Butters, 1 to Laddams and 2 to Motlop. So half-time at the Adelaide Oval, and a 29-point lead to Port Adelaide. Coming up during the half-time break, plenty happening in the Paralympics. Ned Hall will have the very latest coming up very shortly for us on Grandstand AFL. But first, the thoughts of Cameron Ling and Mick Malthouse.
Ultra impressive half a footy from Port Adelaide, Mick. They were so good in so many areas. Their ball movement was excellent. Aliir dominant in the first quarter, not required as much in the second quarter, but Geelong spending so much time and energy, I think, trying to focus on him, meant that Port Adelaide had most of that second term on their terms. Remarkable little stat just here, Mick, is Port have dominated and are controlling this game. Geelong have won the centre bounce clearances 10-0. Geelong have been getting first use, getting it forward, but then those Port defenders and half-backs, running half-backs and midfielders have been creating the turnover and slicing back through the other way and presenting their forwards with lots of opportunities. 29 points is the margin. Could easily have been around 40 points if they'd kicked a bit straighter for goal.
Yeah, and the game's not done yet, Lingy, but you always, I don't know about you, but when you've played well and the opposition have played poorly, or you've been part of the side that's been beaten, you're the one that's more sore and you have more injuries.
Yep.
I just look at it now and you think, okay, we've got O'Connor off the ground. Buse has got something wrong with him, and Henderson's now hurt his elbow. There's 3 backs. Can you get the 3 backs? Where do you probably won't lose the 3, but where do you pluck those players from? O'Connor takes away that midfield Mabe tag, so he hasn't been really needed in there because There hasn't been a really dominant player, but nonetheless, it's a half-back gone. Buse, if he's a bit sore, then you've got to manufacture another half-back. And then if Henderson's a bit sore, we know it, and Lockie can get sore, there's a key back. Now he's been pretty good on Dixon. So all of a sudden, Geelong's flexibility changes. But what it might do, it might force a few other players to have to play in the middle and perhaps get, well, as you said, they're dominating centre bounces. But, and in fact, the stoppages are 20. I've got them down here as 11 to 20 for the first half.
So if you take off that 10 centre bounce clearances, the round the ground clearances are very even then. So
take 10, that's down to 10, 11, yeah.
So the one is Mitch Duncan was half-back, playing loose-ish off half-back for most of that first half. He pushed up into the middle of the ground more in that second term to try and generate some of his ball use coming from the middle of the ground as opposed to being defensive 50. So that's something they're trying to do. I mean, Port Adelaide, when you look at it, Ollie Wines has been superb, had the 19 disposals in the half. Travis Boak has been a cut above everyone else as far as cleanliness, ground balls, creative, just bringing other players into the game. And then those Port forwards are starting to feel it. They're sensing, this Geelong defence is rattled. They're making mistakes. Lockie Henderson's dropping marks. Tom Stewart's not here, the one who usually does all the work for them. O'Connor's down. Buse is sore, who's done the job on Robbie Gray. I mean, those Port forwards right now would be sniffing get it into us, and we've got these guys. They'd be feeling in front of their home crowd, home deck, and seeing a backline very, very rattled right now.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm really disappointed. I'm a Joel Selwood man, as you know, but when the ball gets turned over, he really, unless it's within a metre or two that he can tackle, he really does not put pressure on. I've just watched them walk past him, and as I said before, when they bring that ball out and they feel as if there's a bit of space there, they're taking it. Because Dangerfield's another one, very good in close. Like if it's a yard away, a big tackle. But if it's 2 yards away, it's a bit too hard. That's where O'Connor was so good early in the year, where he was able to take out one of the better players. But none here. Guthrie hasn't had a massive day. Probably needs to go, right, okay, if this is not my day, I'm going to make sure that Boak or Wines doesn't have a good day. So they're going to have to reevaluate the way I see it as far as the midfield goes.
Mick, would you have a problem if you were coaching in this big game tonight and your president, Port Adelaide President David Koch, tweeting 12 minutes ago, 18-5? I'm guessing he's making a reference to the free kick count, which now stands at
20-8. So Kochie might need to delete tweet and go again.
Would you have a problem with your president tweeting about that?
Do you reckon that wouldn't happen at Collingwood?
Is Eddie on Twitter? He's not there anymore.
You've asked the wrong coach from the wrong football club. Would that happen?
Did you have an outspoken president, did you? I've moved on. Anyway, Kochie, very, very dangerous because things can come back to bite you, can't they?
Yes.
But he has tweeted 18-5.
The fan coming out in Kochie tonight. There certainly have been a few that have gone against Port Adelaide without question, and a few that have... the tone was set early as far as the booing was concerned, and that's continued regardless of whether the free kick was there or not, but certainly a few have gone against Port Adelaide. Corbin Middlemaster is always right across the stats on Grandstand AFL. He says the AFL average is 38 free kicks a game total. There were 28 frees in that first half alone, Geelong 20-8. So at Corbin Middlemass on Twitter, give him a follow. He'll be calling the action tomorrow night when Melbourne and Brisbane do battle. Plenty of action happening in Tokyo with the Paralympic Games going on at the moment, and Ned Hall has been keeping a close eye on all of it. He can bring us up to speed. G'day, Ned.
Hey, Al. Yep, 2 more bronze medals to tell you about from the swimming action tonight. Tiffany Thomas-Kane just got the bronze medal in the 200 metres individual medley. Her teammate Isabella Vincent, only 15 years old, placed 6th in the final, so great effort by both of those swimmers. And Katja Dedekind as well also came away with the bronze from the women's 400 metre freestyle final. She got the bronze last night in the 100 metre backstroke as well. Disappointing, though, for a few other Australians out there tonight. Jesse Auclairs in the 100 metre backstroke and Liam Schluter in the 200 metre freestyle both came in fourth, as did Braden Jason in the 400 metres freestyle as well. So close to the podium, just not quite getting there for Australia. That's added to the medal tally with a gold medal earlier on today from Amanda Reid in the cycling, the 500 metre time trial at the Velodrome, broke her own world record in the process too. And Alistair Donohoe picked up the silver medal in the 400 metres individual pursuit in the C5 category there. Raced off in the gold medal match, just couldn't beat the French opponent who had beaten him in his semi-final as well. The other medal for Australia today came on the track. It went to Isis Holt, silver medal in the women's 100 metres, just behind China's Zhu Zhai, who set a world record in pipping her to the post, and a fourth place for Corey Anderson in the men's javelin final as well. The rowing got underway today, and a moderately successful day for the Australians. Eric Horry in the men's single scull was second in his heat, which means he has to go through the repechage, as did the mixed double scull pairing of Simon Aubrey and Catherine Ross, and the mixed coxed fours. They were second as well in their heat, and also are back on the water tomorrow morning in the repechage. Now in the wheelchair rugby, the Steelers went down to defeat again, this time to Japan, 57-53, but they are through to the semi-finals as France beat Denmark in the other match today. So they do go through to the last four of the tournament. They'll take on the United States tomorrow, the United States having beaten Great Britain earlier on this evening. In the wheelchair basketball, another big win for the Rollers. They beat Algeria 83-37. Bill Latham top scoring with 16 there. It will get harder from here with the USA, Great Britain, and tomorrow's opponents, Germany, still to come for them. And in the table tennis, later on this evening, Marlin is in quarter-final action. He takes on his Ukrainian opponent for a spot in the semi-finals there. And elsewhere today in the goal ball, that finally got underway today for Australia. Unfortunately, the Aussie Bells went down to a 6-0 defeat against China, and that is the latest from Tokyo.
Good on you, Ned. Ned Hall there with the very latest. Marlin, what an amazing story. As a 5-year-old at a zoo, had his arm bitten off by a bear, and now he is representing Australia at the Paralympic Games in table tennis, having previously represented China and won multiple gold medals in the sport. It's an extraordinary story, one of many at the Paralympic Games, and Ned Hall is keeping us right across all the action in Tokyo. On 0437 774 774. John in Coburg's got a thought around Carlton this week. He says, so they sacked their second most successful coach this millennium and his assistant, but leave everyone else. And that night the president spends nearly an hour talking to an interested party, Carlton, making Essendon look good since 2000, says John of Coburg. Thank you for your thought there, John. 0437 774 774. It's an interesting set of circumstances. I'll be fascinated to hear what Mark McClure's got to say on No Excuses tomorrow for most of you on Grandstand AFL. Bill reckons the Cats are still on the couch and direct current's been applied for a while. How many lives do they need? They might need a few the way they're going tonight. Bill and Michael, what's with Geelong now? First time this season going for the Cats as a Hawthorn supporter. Need Mick and Lingy to go down into the rooms and blast them, says Michael. They need something, Michael, no doubt about it. 0437 774 774. And Peter from Hampton, one of many to be a little aggrieved at some of the umpiring. Gee, the umpires are umpiring a different game, says Peter, and that's about the most friendly of the texts on that front that I can read out on 0437 774 774. We'll have the second half action coming up from the Adelaide Oval in the qualifying final, with Port Adelaide leading 8-7-55 to Geelong 3-8-26. That's after the very latest from the ABC Newsroom.
ABC News headlines with Satyam Weinstein. The WA government hasn't announced any new lockdown restrictions after 2 truck drivers from New South Wales tested positive to COVID-19. The men travelled to Western Australia via Victoria and South Australia before being notified via text by New South Wales Health. The men have had very little contact with the general public, sleeping in their truck cabin upon arrival into Perth. The New South Wales Deputy Premier, John Barilaro, is defending a decision to extend the lockdown across regional parts of the state, despite some areas having 0 COVID cases. He says opening up community by community only risks further outbreaks. There have been 882 cases in New South Wales, while the vast majority were in Western and southwestern Sydney. Western New South Wales recorded 40 cases, including 25 at Dubbo, and the Far West recorded 9 new cases. 80 Defence Force personnel are on the ground at Shepparton in Victoria, helping maintain essential services in the regional city, where more than a third of the population's been forced into isolation. Victoria recorded 79 new cases, and Shepparton, along with Melbourne's western suburbs, are the areas of most concern. Many Western countries, including Australia, have ended their evacuation operations at Kabul airport following the attack that killed at least 90 people. But despite the threat of more bomb attacks at the airport, the US and UK are still flying people out of Afghanistan. Britain's announced they've stopped processing applications and final evacuations are underway. ABC News.
Be part of the Grandstand Sport team on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Search ABC Sport and see a world of great sport content for you to explore. Open your ears to the world with the ABC Listen app. Join Yumi Steins as she delves into taboo topics in Ladies We Need to Talk.
If I straightened my hair, I was fitting in, and if I didn't, then I was suddenly sort of a Black Panther or something.
Or immerse yourself in the life of someone else in conversations with Richard Feidler and Sarah Konoski.
I remember hearing this tremendous roar, and then the boat was literally picked up and thrown upside down.
Open your ears to the world with the ABC Listen app.
The 2021 AFL Final Series. Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Big Dangerfield, possession number 7. Sport fans on behalf of Crows fans are giving him the usual reception as the kick goes inside the 50 for Henderson. It comes off the pack to Motlop, who kicks for his second and makes the Cats pay for an error again. Drew, who worked it beautifully, a floating kick to the top of the 50. Bonner, a squaring ball, it's off the outside of his boot. Henderson back with a flight, taps it down, front and centre row. Fantasia pops it through and punches the air as he runs off in celebration.
Wines with the penetrating kick into the pocket. He goes over the head of Dixon. Waiting at the back was Marshall, and he snacks casually off a foot, and he buries it from the right forward pocket.
The 2021 AFL Finals Series on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Superb to have you with us for the start of the finals on Grandstand AFL, live and commercial free on ABC Sport, right around every vast pocket of this country of ours. We'll have all the finals for you, all the analysis, all the pre-game action, all the key guests across the course of the next few weeks as we look to crown a champion, a new champion in the AFL after Richmond's dominance of the last 4 years when they won 3 premierships of those 4. 0437 774 774. Francis in Thornbury reckons maybe give Hawkins a run in the ruck to get him into the game. Question mark. I'll put that to Lingy and Mick in a moment. And Ray in the Riverland, should AFL games have an even number of frees at all games? I thought frees are paid as umpires see them, not to keep score. Yep, very valid point, Ray. The umpires call them as they see them, and yes, it might read 20-8, and yes, there may have been a few mistakes, but there have not been 12 mistakes in the game, so your point is valid. 0437 774 774 if you want to touch base. Alistair Nicholson and Kelly Underwood calling the action with Mick Malthouse and Cameron Ling for you on Grandstand AFL this evening. In the NRL, tonight there were 2 games, with the Canberra Raiders 28 defeating the New Zealand Warriors 16, and the Rabbitohs are currently playing the Roosters. South Sydney leading 24-6, 7.5 minutes into the second half of that match at Lang Park in Brisbane. So firstly, Lingy, Hawkins, I mean, he does plenty of ruck work when the ball's in the forward 50. He probably hasn't been there as much as Geelong would have liked, and they haven't forced enough forward 50 stoppages. Would you give him a run in the middle of the ground, as Francis is proposing?
No, I wouldn't, only because you need him close to goal, and so I'd prefer him there. They've had even inside 50s, but very, very different inside 50s. They haven't been really damaging and attacking ones with their ball movement. So no, I wouldn't, Al. I'd leave him forward, and I'd put a lot of heat on the midfielders and say, right now you're getting smashed by Wines, Boak, Eamon on the wing, all of those Port midfielders. Do your job, start winning the footy, start winning it in close, start sharing it and using it quick, and give Cameron and Hawkins a really good look at the ball. Because if they do that, then Hawkins can become the match winner that he is, and Jeremy Cameron can. But the heat's got to come on the Cats midfield. They're getting obliterated right now, even though centre clearances, as I said, were 10-0. So doing the job in that initial one, but at the next contest spreading away, Porter all over them.
How would you have addressed it if you were the coach at halftime, Mick Malthouse? You're in the Geelong rooms. You're currently trailing the game by 29 points. You've been completely outplayed in the second quarter.
Well, I'm not gentle with some blokes. I'm not gentle with a lot of them at times, and I certainly wouldn't be gentle with a few blokes out there. They've ridden on the coattails of Hawkins and Cameron. I'm talking about here Rowan. I'm talking Dalhouse. Higgins is in the side to promote the ball. I reckon Stanley's done okay in the ruck. I think the back line is lacking run, and I certainly wouldn't be opposed to saying to the blokes in the middle, you might be winning the stoppages and you might be winning the centre square 10-0, but defensively, you've got to pick up. They have been horrible defensively.
Mick, if Geelong are to come back from this, they're going to have to generate some quicker ball movement.
Yeah,
they're going to have to defend the Port ball movement better, but generate some of their own. Can I run you through, now that O'Connor's off, let's assume that Buse and Henderson are okay.
Right.
Aaron told us just before the halftime break that there were concerns around those two. But the back six for Geelong is likely to be Buse, Henderson, Henry, Kolajasny, Blitzarves, and Tom Atkins. The only real creative ball user perhaps there is Tom Atkins.
Yeah, but you got Duncan also falling in behind the ball, and I'm thinking he's got a lot of football, but Dangerfield's not doing a lot. I'm not too sure what he's like behind the ball, but at least he's a thumping kick and win his ball in the air, and he can win the ball on the ground.
So do you think it's Dangerfield? Do you think it's Duncan again, but tell him to be running more rather than just taking the uncontested marks? Or is it Sean Higgins saying we can't find a spot for you, it's not really working, it hasn't really clicked this year, you be our creator and runner off half-back? Would you try something that out of the blue that you haven't really tried all year?
The only thing I say about Duncan, this is his first game in a lot of weeks, and he's been unbelievable. I don't know how many what game time is pretty high, so I'd be surprised that you could say, listen, you're not running, we want to get you running, because he's done a fair bit of 19 possessions, 7 marks. His contested football's pretty high as well. His clearance rate's not bad. Why not Smith of the half back line? Take another player to the wing and leave Smith behind the ball. There's a couple of things about Smith. He's a thumping long kick, and he'll run. He would be the sort of player that plays on this ground very well.
Okay, here we go. All set up for the second half. Port Adelaide lead it by 29 points. They've kicked 6 of the last 7 goals in this contest. Bounce down in the centre. Bobbles around before it comes to Dangerfield, who unloads. We just heard Mick Malthouse say he's a thumping kick. That's exactly what he did. Close does well to keep it in play. Dalhouse, a little tiptoe. Menegola tried to sidestep, didn't come off. He loses possession of it. Now it's in dispute. He jumps on top of it, and he's in a wrestle with Houston as to who can get it. It'll be a ball up right in front of Aaron Bryans, who's in the front row tonight. Aaron.
Kelly, Lockie Henderson and Jed Buse both starting for the Cats, so good news for them. I'll head back in a second with an update.
Dangerfield coming forward for the Cats. Off the outside of his boot, spies Dalhouse. He was under pressure, Dangerfield. That was a clever kick. And Dalhouse is 40 metres out on a slight angle to the left.
Bit of luck there for the Cats, I think. The ball was going out of bounds. Everyone stopped. The Cats got it back.
15 gone.
Dangerfield kick, was it a good kick? Or was
I'm
it
calling it deliberately.
A shank off the side of his boot?
Was it a little dink, a clever deft dink off the outside of the boot? I go with the champion.
Good call, fair call.
Dalhouse kicks from 45, arcs out, pulls the kick. He misses on the left-hand side. We have seen some poor accuracy, or lack of accuracy, in this match, and Geelong moves to 3-9. Port Adelaide 8-7, a lead of 28 points through 90 seconds.
Sorry, I read that wrong. You said I'm going with the champion. I thought you meant Lingy.
I can't understand why why would he run out on that angle, Dalhouse? He's 45 metres out.
Okay, so the kick in from Port Adelaide, they've worked it to the wing. Aliir's involved, handballing, quick fire handball. Rosie, and taken high after he got rid of the handball. Involved in that passage of play was Travis Boak, so Aliir to Boak to Rosie, and then it will be a free kick because he was taken high. So Laddams is going to take it at half forward. Pokes it into space. Charlie Dixon had to really get down low. A little bit too much of it. Fantasia tries to dive on top. Henderson got it out to Rowan. Rowan with speed to Burney. Tucks to Sharon under his arm. He crosses half back. He looked to get it out towards Dalhouse. Couldn't find a target. And in the end, Mackenzie's happy to see it over. Let's continue with that update from the boundary. Aaron.
So Kel Henderson has his right elbow strap. Jed Hughes his left quad. You just called Gary Rowan there as well. He's starting in defence after a poor first half, up forward on Alia.
So there's the first change we notice that Chris Scott makes at half-time. Boundary throw in on the outer side. Geelong with a hurried kick, but Houston reading it best in the pocket. He's got it almost across defensive side of the outer wing.
I reckon Rowan has played a lot of football at Sydney. As a half-back, so that's a good move.
Houston kicks to a one-on-one. It was Dixon and Henderson, and Rowan comes in and offers a bit of help. Handballs it out to Dangerfield. Dangerfield to Hawkins and Mackenzie. Hawkins almost took the mark. Menegola comes in, gives it back to Hawkins, who turns, spins, kicks towards the top of the goal square. No one can take it in the air. Great by Jonas to Houston. To Burn-Jones. Warm applause as they exit it slickly out of defence. Handball back here. Bergman involved, and Burn-Jones, who kept running, has got it at a half-back.
Well, it's a good move so far. Rowan has been the propeller of, if you like, propelled the ball a couple of times forward, got in the right position. So, okay. So it does take away one of the monsters though on the forward line.
Burn-Jones went short to Rosie, defensive side of the broadcast wing. Kicks around the wing, a pack of about 6. Dangerfield dropped the sitter in the end, uncontested. Grey Robe gave it to Fantasia from 55 out. Oh, the power absolutely on fire. Orazio Fantasia on return has kicked 3. Even Geelong Stars are having regrettable moments. Dangerfield dropped a dead set sitter. Fantasia from long range outside 50 put it through on the fly, and Port Adelaide now by 34 points. It's almost over. 9-7-61 to 3-9-27, 4.5 played of the third.
He took them on, Wingy. There was nothing in front of him. He had to go for his shot, but Dangerfield here, everything going for him. He had perfect position at the back of the pack, no contest whatsoever, and drops the sitter.
Absolute sitter. Don't you love that from Fantasia, though?
Oh, yeah.
He had a lead up from a forward, would have taken the mark. I think Dixon probably on the boundary.
Yeah.
Maybe 35, 40 out, tough shot at goal. And City said, no, this is what I'm here for. This is what I was brought to the club for. On the run, backed himself in and nailed it.
See who crumbed it? Robbie Gray.
Yes.
Back underway in the centre, and the Cats have got it. Parfitt with the hurried kick. Charging out was Cameron. It's spoilt from behind. Ricochets back to Parfitt. Spins his way out of trouble. Loops the handball over the top. Higgins, instead of going for it, Lysek got it. Quick little kick. Comes back to Smith. Goes to the goal square. Alia launches. He's got close there, right by his side. Offhands Houston. Kicks long down the line, and it was effective.
Who's kicking it?
It'll be a boundary. No, it was out of bounds on the full. Yep. So, free kick to Mitch Duncan. He was the closest player there. Burn-Jones. You heard the umpire say, foot on the line. Mitch Duncan sets something up here for the Cats. He's kicked in the Alia direction. Hawkins a long way from behind. And plugging the hole was the skipper in Jonas. An uncontested mark in the end. And that was a disappointing entry. The boot of Mitch Duncan.
Last couple of times they've become so Alia conscious, they're forgetting about the other player who was going up to defend for Port on that occasion, Jonas.
Yeah, exactly. And it's almost like they're trying to keep the ball away from him, keeping him low, dunking it long, where they used to have the big marking players.
It's a free kick in the marking contest, and Laddams won the free kick. He kicks towards the wing, and Henry floats back with the flight and takes a courageous mark. Defensive side of the wing, broadcast side of the ground for the Cats. Port by 34 points. Short pass to Duncan. Duncan to the back point of the square, and Higgins. He ignores Simpson near the bullseye, switches play to the outer side. It's an errant kick, but it bounces obligingly for Rowan to gather. Off half-back, kicks around the outer wing for Geelong. Nice pass to Menegola. Marks plays on. It was touched. Menegola kicks inside 50, close back with a flight, did well to tap it away from Houston. Rode by Parfitt, his kick across the face of goal. Should have done better, only 15 out on the run, and he missed the open goal. Sums up Geelong's night, really. 3-10 the Cats, A 33-point lead for Port Adelaide, 7-minute mark, third quarter.
Outstanding by Trent McKenzie, though, to pressure Parfitt there. You're right, he should have done better, but great chase, great desperation.
Houston.
Getting a lot of clean... I'm sorry, Cal.
You're right, to Dersma, to Gray, and there is a lot of clean ball, Mick.
Well, there's a lot of clean ball going from half back into the forward line at the moment, and they're just not capitalising the Cats.
Gray to Boak. Boak towards Laddams at the back. Isaac Smith. A little give and go with Duncan, and then on his trusty left, he's able to find a teammate across half back in Higgins. So two of those recruits combining. Higgins is just going to handball it back to Smith. Smith is undecided. He's in two minds. In the end, he's tackled. He's kicked it straight to Bergman. Can they launch them on the turnover here, Port Adelaide? They've got it on the broadcast wing. Just in front of the AFL logo is Bergman, casually. Up towards Dixon from the side. Stanley with the spoil, down to Henry. Hurries the kick. Guthrie in front. Good pressure applied by Burn-Jones. Goes to Atkins. Atkins right up against the boundary line to Guthrie. Guthrie to Buse. Fumbled, dropped it, regathered. Myers is involved. Higgins grits the teeth. This is all tight within right up of the, gaining a bit of yardage right up to the bench. They've got it. Simpson eventually takes a mark from a short kick. Wheels around now. He thinks about going long. Instead, he steps back inside. Kicks towards Cameron. Alier came closing back. Had to go back with the flight.
Jonas
somehow close. Keeps it in play. Over to Cameron. Oh, he's absolutely crunched by Butters. What about that for a finals tackle? Butters has taken Jeremy Cameron on head on, brought him down, ball spills clear, Alier sees it over the boundary line.
I reckon Trent McKenzie was flattened in the marking contest and he was a little slow to get up. I think he's up and okay now.
Great tackle by Butters. We've seen the replay. You called it well then, Cal. Cameron tried to barge through. Outstanding tackle by the smaller player.
Cats in attack, tapped down by Hawkins. Guthrie's taken without it. Must be a free kick against Burn-Jones. Not forthcoming. Spills to Parfitt, tackled. Barely got boot to ball. Burn-Jones hand pass out of the pack. Slapped brilliantly, aerially by Butters. In the air, he flicked it out. And then the kick around the half-back line from Bergman. He kicks to the wing. Strong tackle on Buse. He's caught by Rosie. It's a nightmare night for Geelong, for Port Adelaide. They are ratcheting up the pressure, the power. And Rosie has the free kick on the broadcast wing. How impressive Port Adelaide has been tonight. Rosie kicks to half forward, dumped as he did so. Downfield free kick, Port Adelaide. This is getting out of hand for Geelong. Buse has players come and get in his face. Amon kicks inside the 50. In front of the pack was Wines. Case for being held there. It goes over the boundary line next to the left behind post. Port in attack with a lead of 33.
Replay on Buse there, what he did, felling Rosie after the kick, and they're right into him, Lingy. They're just threatening to lose the plot a little bit at the moment, the Cats.
That's right, and that's where Port Adelaide's still going to lock in and focus. They can bury the Cats here. They've got them rattled a bit. They've got to nail them on the scoreboard.
So boundary throw in the forward pocket was for Port Adelaide, but a hurried kick from Guthrie and they work it to the wing. Port Adelaide fans sense this is the moment, another one or two, and they might have this one in the bag. The margin is 33 points, and we're 10 minutes into the third term. Aaron Bryan's on the boundary.
Kelly, worth noting that Alier hasn't had a man all quarter. He's actually sitting 20 metres behind the play at the moment by himself.
Spinning ball back into play. Blitzarves down to Guthrie, and then the kick from Atkins was smothered by Carl Amon over the boundary, and they're up on their feet even celebrating the smothers. What a season Carl Amon's had.
Well, would that be Rowan's man? So you've got a 1-for-1. Rowan's has been more damaging this quarter, although Geelong are trying to avoid Alier.
Laddams and Blitzarves in ruck, punch back over the boundary line. Attacking side of the outer wing for Port. Ken Hickley looks a relatively calm figure in the Port Adelaide coach's box. His team 9-7-61, Geelong 3-10-28. 11 played of the third term. Laddams the tap down, Wines the rove. What an extraordinarily good season he's had. Off to Dersma, off to Drew. And the kick inside the 50 for Marshall. Couldn't mark Rosie, almost the rove. Buse took him without it. Motlop gets a hold of the ball. He's tackled by Atkins. A ball up 35 metres from the Port Adelaide goal. It's all the power. To the Riverbank stand in they go. Dixon flicked it dangerously to the back. It comes to Henderson. He's tackled, dispossessed. Gray gets it. He's caught. Duncan latches on. Gets a hand pass out. Amon dropped it. Dangerfield's hand pass over his head. A hit of a throw there. Houston comes to meet it. His hand pass pinched by Higgins of Geelong. Off to Buse, off to Dalhouse. Took them on. He's caught. That is holding the ball. Dersma wins the free kick at centre half forward for Port Adelaide. Hand pass to Bonner. Bonner bangs inside the 50 to full forward. Henry back with a flight. Got the punch towards the pocket. Henderson there. Dixon gets there to corral, but he spins, pirouettes out of trouble and kicks to the back flank to Duncan.
Mitch Duncan. He's racked up the possessions tonight after his return game, and he kicks defensively. We've seen this from Geelong. Backwards, and then Henry sideways to Rowan down the line. Well-weighted kick. And marked by Grant Myers, and he takes off. He's got speed to burn. He has a bounce. He brings a kick back inboard towards Dalhouse. Couldn't get down low enough. Laddam's got down low, but he's tackled to the ground. And the ball's held in. Kolajasny wrapping him up. 61 Port Adelaide, 28 Geelong.
Lear was just had the Jeremy Cameron match up for a second, handed it straight over to McKenzie so he can be free again.
In a free kick going the way of Dangerfield. As a result of that stoppage, Wines giving it away. So Patrick Dangerfield, he's 80 metres out. He goes into the pocket. Who's there? Close had to go back, but waiting was Jonas. And what a pickup at his bootlaces. He hoiks that up. He gives it off to Amon. Amon to the wing, and Dixon, strong hands, out in front. A long way from home, but that'll do the confidence wonders. Amon kept running. Handballs to Dersma. Dersma to Wines. Wines back to Amon. He's on the right side for a left footer. Can he pinpoint someone inside 50? Henry goes early. Marshall waiting at the back. Henry dropped it in the air. Marshall tackles him to the ground. It'll be a ball up inside 50 here for Port Adelaide. They're trying to put their foot down here, the power.
33 points the lead, 14-minute mark, third quarter. Blitzarves taps towards the boundary. Gray robes, hand pass to Wines, caught by Dangerfield. Hand pass pinched by Kolajasny. He's tackled by Gray, taken over the boundary at left half forward. Robbie Gray's got a little bit of a hobble going.
His knee stroked up like his far lap, wasn't it? He's got some tape from his hip to, it's all around his knee. Medial ligament type stuff.
He looks sore, Robbie Gray. Still such an important cog for Port. Thrown back in. Blitzarves in ruck against Dixon. Roved by Smith of Geelong. He kicks to the wing. Alir's there. Rises in front of Menegola and pulls in yet another mark. Alir. Mark number 5.
Short to Bonner. Bonner on the edge of the square. He's looking for Dixon. The kick wasn't great. Henderson really got what he should have taken in the end. It bounced off his chest and goes over the boundary, and the headband's on, keeping the hair out of his eyes, and he shakes his head as if to say, my goodness me, it has not been my night. Slipped straight through the fingers and hit the left thigh and bounced over the boundary line. So thrown back in. Blitzarves in the ruck, thumps it. Smith thumped it further. Alir in the hot pink boots. He's been playing red hot footy tonight, and the kick inside 50. Henry is there.
Henry's been the one Geelong defender who's been confident enough to come off, take brave marks in the air, the intercept marks.
Short to Buse he goes.
Buse must have a big corking, I reckon. He's just really reluctant to kick the footy.
Port Adelaide has kicked 7 of the last 8 goals in that margin. It's 33 points. And another turnover. The kick from Geelong marked by Jonas on the outer wing. The skipper, the sole skipper, looking for the key target forward, and Rowan marking from behind. The pack, he judged that well in the air.
Gary Rowan, who's been sent into defence in the third term, fires a kick out wide. Blitzarves marks, Lysett went to ground. Crowd thought he was impeded. He gets up to make the smother. Well played, big fellow. Motlop gets it. Top of the 50. He's already got 2. He won't have 3. He blazes and puts it out of bounds on the full into row 6. A disappointing result for Steve Motlop. 9-7-61 Port Adelaide. Geelong 3-10-28. Almost 17 played of the third term as Geelong were bringing the ball back into play. Henry's kick went over the boundary line in the back pocket, and it will be a throw-in. Port in attack 30 from goal.
They're not nailing it yet, Port Adelaide. Motlop had chances galore, options galore to give to teammates, make a simpler shot at goal blazed away, but the Cats have given it back to them.
Blitzarves and Laddams in the ruck. Neither can affect it. Bergman runs onto it. His kick is touched. It'll bounce inside 50 here. Wines. Quick handball to Drew, to Marshall. Marshall off to Amon on the left. It's an up and under. He skies it. Taking off after it is Isaac Smith. He can't control it in the air. Dersma overruns it. Drew looks to go again. Well done by Amon, but it's tried to get it to Bonner. It was stolen by Selwood of the Cats. His kick has gone into space. Wines gritted the teeth. He wanted more than any other Geelong player. To Marshall, to Drew, to Motlop. Fires it out to Bergman. Throws it on the right boot. Goalward and offline. The build-up was good. It was promising. But the snap from Bergman just missing to the right-hand side.
How impressive is Ollie Wines?
So good. He won it, but it was a free loose ball, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He just charged through.
He made it his.
Port Adelaide by 34 points.
Isaac Smith a bounce and a bomb to the middle of Adelaide Oval. Houston had it go through his hands. A ball in dispute in the centre circle. Myers has got it. Jonas and Bonner wrestle him. A ball up, literally in the middle of the Adelaide Oval. The umpire should come in and lay it down on the surface.
Come here. If I'm reading this right, the Cats have got two loose players behind the ball just to see if they can stem this.
Blitzarves the tap down. Higgins underneath it for Geelong. A hand pass towards Kolajasny. Knocked away by Fantasia, who won the ball as well. He kicks out towards Laddams. Missed his target. Laddams tries to paddle to his own advantage. Henderson used his body, took possession, gave to Parfitt near the boundary. Tackled by Fantasia, and the ball turned over as a result. It's marked on the outer wing by Houston. So Port Adelaide will be coming again.
They're all at sea, the Cats, at the moment. Houston's happy to retreat. Kick backwards to Jonas. Try and set something up here. He's got a defensive side of the outer wing, and his kick goes back to Houston. Marking in front of Simpson. Play on, says the umpire. So handball quickly over to Bonner from a standing start. Just tosses it in the air. Oh, Laddams has given away a free. He launched late and he fell over the top of Henry. And he's been pinged for a push in the back.
He has, Cal, but I reckon he was pushed into the Geelong player.
Yeah. Well, that's what I thought I thought he was going to call play on advantage.
He almost did a somersault up over the top of Henry's shoulders and back. Henry gets the free kick, kicks to a pack on the outer side. Dangerfield, he's got Amon for company. What a tackle by Amon. Seen that a few times tonight. Spills the way of Houston to Bergman. His handball wasn't great. Allows Buse to come into the contest. Buse got Blitzarves now for a little bit of help. He's set upon Houston. Burn-Jones stolen by Selwood. Spins out of trouble. Pops the kick up in the air to the favour of Close. And the inspiring skipper in Joel Selwood with a little passage of play that might result in a much-needed goal here for the Cats through the boot of Close.
Oh, massive kick this, and what a turnaround it would be. Port Adelaide probably should have got the free kick at half forward and advantage paid. They would have run in and had a pretty simple shot at goal. Now it's down the other end of the ground and getting close to three-quarter time to bring it back under that 30-point margin. This is big.
They haven't kicked a goal since Simpson delivered early stages of the second. 45-degree angle. We're going to ride it all the way home. He's hooked it too much, I think. He has. And Brad Close in the long sleeves. Looked online, faded late, misses to the left. Inaccuracy is hurting this team. 3-11-29. Port 9-8-62.
No Geelong player in the number 45 has kicked a goal in a final since the 2011 GF. Cameron Ling as Port Adelaide bring it down the middle. Bonner got it away to Boak, off to Amon, high ball inside 50. Marshall! Back with the flights, takes the mark, 20 metres out, directly in front to the Riverbank stand end of the ground.
I think it was 2-on-1 too. I just thinking Rowan had front position. Jack Henry was behind him. It was one of those ones where you have to come back hard with your body.
It's the risk of throwing Rowan back there, isn't it? You get his run and trying to get some speed going from half back, but defensively it was all at sea then under the high ball.
This to really drive a stake through Geelong and drive hope into the fans. Oh, he's driven it into the post. He drove it straight into the right post. He was throwing at the stumps from square leg and it was never missing. Behind Port Adelaide, they've missed quite a few. The margin is 34 again.
But a quick turnover on the kick-in. It was Came to Henderson, whose kick has been stolen by Burton. Oh, Marshall got up high, almost made amends with the mark of the year. Port Adelaide still got it. Dixon to Bonner. Bonner on the left. Robbie Gray's in the pocket down there, almost hiding. But Henry saves the moment. He saved a few moments. Horacio Fantasia has copped one high, and he looks like he's physically ill behind play. He's up on his feet, but he's got blood trickling from a clear cut across the top of his nose.
That one might be a broken nose. That sort of look, or is it across the nose perhaps from Horacio Fantasia? I think it was in this marking contest.
It was arm.
Rowan's
arm.
Yeah,
accidental.
When Todd Marshall flew up the back of Blitzarves, he got plenty of hang time, but as he came down, it's been a collision, and accidentally Fantasia's copped one across the nose. 9:9:63, Port Adelaide, 3:11:29 the Cats, and there's 3 minutes to play in the third.
Very interesting. One goal scored, and there's been a complete domination of play inside 50s. But full credit to the Cats, they've hung on.
On that stoppage, Dixon took it out of the ruck, lost possession, felt like he got one in the back. The ball's back over the boundary line. A throw in. Left forward pocket for Port Adelaide, 30 metres from goal. Port by 34 points, 23-minute mark, third term. You're with Grandstand AFL. Dixon in front of Stanley, knocked it down. Gray roved it perfectly, hooks it round the body. This is Robbie kind of stuff, but Blitzarves intervenes at the last second with centimetres to spare and saw it through for a minor score. A 35-point lead to the Power. It's as big as we've had, and we're at the 24-minute mark of the third.
I'll tell you what, Liggy, if we can read it from here, how come Robbie Gray was able to get so clear from a tap down? What are Geelong's mids doing?
You're right, Mick.
Rowan on the kick in, went towards Jeremy Cameron at the back. Amon grabbed it, and Dangerfield grabbed him. It'll be a ball up. Robbie Gray looking there to kick his second of the night. He's so determined. Can he win that elusive premiership? It's a big question many in Adelaide are asking. So chopping it off across half-back is Jonas. Just over 2 minutes to play in this third term. Burn-Jones getting involved. And then coming to Dersma, who goes short to Rosie. Marking in front of Atkins, brings it back inboard. This is all on the broadcast wing, just in front of the benches, the Cats bench. Aaliyah has taken the uncontested mark and then dabs it back towards Ryan Burton, who's got it.
He doesn't take any chances with his kicks, Aaliyah. It's not on, he just kicks it short to someone.
Burton wants to take the game on, and then he drives it long. Stanley with the spoil. It ricochets down to Robbie Gray. His mind's ticking a million miles an hour. He gives it to Boak, who tried the banana from the pocket. Boak can do many, many things, Cameron Ling, but off-balance banana from the pocket was just asking a bit too much, out of bounds on the full.
Just a little bit too much, especially when he had some runners. Gee, Robbie Gray at the front of packs crumbing is a thing of beauty. If you're a young player and you want to learn how to crumb and play that small forward role, watch Robbie Gray highlights.
Bit of selfishness setting in though, Lee.
Guthrie to Duncan out of defence to the back flank. Few pings when better options were available, Mick.
Well, we've had Motlop and the captain both had better opportunities, put it that way, far better. Yeah, and I think you're right, Fantasia's nose looks like he's been in the ring with... I'd say, who would that be? Muhammad Ali? No, perhaps not as hard as that. Jeff Fennick.
Kennedy Golovkin or someone. The cut man's going to work, so he's being patched up down there off the half-back line. Menegola gave to Stanley, taken, dispossessed. Ball rumbles free. Duncan a hand pass to Dangerfield. On his left boot from the half-back flank, kicks the Cats to the wing, and Burton beat two Cats and marked.
You mentioned that goal in the number 45 in the 2011 Grand Final. Last time I had a broken nose was the 2011 Grand Final. Thanks to your dear friend Dane Swan, Mick.
Probably on orders of the coach.
Accidental, of course, from Swanee.
Burton goes back around the wing. Henderson gets it. He's had a torrid night. Nailed by Dixon. Caught holding the ball. It was a surprising decision.
That's not why you kicked the goal, Lingy, was it? Because you had sort of blurred vision.
Well, it happened late in the game. It should have happened early in the game. The concussion rule could have counted then.
Dixon's got it 70 from goal. 30 seconds to go until three-quarter time. Geelong cannot afford to concede one. Dixon's kicked a full forward. Rowan up in the pack to spoil. Who's going to rove it? Close is there. He's bumped by Butters, knocked out of the way. Dersma gets it top of the 50. Left foot squaring ball for Ports. Henry. He has been the one Geelong defender, as Cameron Ling said, to stand up under the sustained pressure. He's at fullback. He plays on. He kicks to the half-back flank. Henderson there. Dixon in front. Offhands over the boundary it goes. Port Adelaide will go to three-quarter time with a 35-point lead and 1 foot in a preliminary final. Been an extraordinary display from the Power, living up to their name. A thoroughly powerful performance thrown in, and that is the siren. Geelong has only managed 3 goals to three-quarter time, and Port Adelaide leaves by 35 points, 9-10-64 to 3-11-29 on Grandstand AFL. Orazio Fantasia has kicked 3 for Port, 2 goals to Motlock, singles to Marshall, Gray, Butters and Laddams, while for Geelong, a goalless third term. Cameron's kicked a goal, Hawkins a goal, and Simpson a goal. Port Adelaide with 1 goal, 3, and Geelong 3 behinds in that quarter. But the trend of the game, the general play, it's been dominated by Port. On 0437 774 774, you can get in touch with us in the Grandstand commentary box, as Marty in Albury has done. He's a Cats fan and says, when, for many years now missing, will the team focus on actually having a prime ruckman assisting the midfield, says Marty. I'll pose that to Cameron Ling on the other side of this. 35 points is the Port Adelaide lead at three-quarter time on Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio, ABC News Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Enjoying the footy? There's plenty more to discover. Catch up on all the best interviews and action from the weekend's coverage with the best of Grandstand podcasts. Visit ABC Sport Online wherever you get your favourite podcasts and the ABC Listen app.
G'day, Australia.
We're here to share some Vax facts.
If you get vaccinated, you're less likely to get COVID-19.
But they also reduce your chances of passing the virus on to others. We all have to get vaccinated. The vast majority of us.
I'm looking forward to making people laugh in person.
I'm looking forward to going dancing.
I'm just really looking forward to never having to watch the daily press conferences again.
When it's available to you, please get yours.
The 2021 AFL Final Series. Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Roby, defensive side of the broadcast wing. Kicks around the wing. A pack of about 6. Dangerfield dropped the sitter in the end. Uncontested. Grey Robe gave it to Fantasia from 55 out. Oh, the Power absolutely on fire. Orazio Fantasia on return has kicked 3.
The 2021 AFL Finals Series on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Three-quarter time at the Adelaide Oval. The fans are dispersed around the ground, just 20,000 in. They go a row and then 2 vacant rows and then another row. But, gee, they've made some noise. It has sounded like a phenomenal atmosphere at Adelaide Oval tonight. Port 9-10-64 to 3-11-29 Geelong at three-quarter time. Alistair Nicholson, Kelly Underwood, Mick Malthouse and Cameron Ling. Before we go to our experts on Grandstand AFL, let's go to the boundary. Aaron Bryans.
A bit of panic stations here for the Cats. They've left the players to fend for themselves. They don't have their line coaches out there. The entire coaching group has come together for the majority of this break, trying to figure out who to play who where and what to do next. And Chris Scott still doesn't seem to have an answer. They're still together trying to figure it out.
They have looked a bit bereft at times tonight, the Cats. Before we get your thoughts, Lingy and Mick, just on that suggestion from Marty that it is time that the Cats really pursued that key big man, not relying on a Reece Stanley or an Asava Ratugolea or even a Mark Blitzarves to play roles in the ruck.
I think they've tried, to be perfectly honest. They tried at Todd Goldstein a couple of years ago. I think they got Zach Smith down from the Gold Coast Suns, hoping that was going to work. They've probably tried to target a couple of younger ruckmen who are from the Geelong region. One I'm thinking of plays for Fremantle and plays wonderfully well for Fremantle, but hasn't worked. I believe they do have a potential permanent ruckman. I think it's Asava Ratugolea. But I would love to see him, or have seen him, for the last 2 years, or especially this year with Jeremy Cameron coming on board, play the entire season. Get 22 games under his belt as a ruckman. Get 40 games under his belt as a ruckman. Brad Ottens, my former teammate, great player, big-time finals player, great ruckman, does some ruck coaching there. he's always said he wants to see Asava as the ruckman because of his competitiveness, because of his athleticism, his jump, his follow-up work at ground level.
How tall is he, then?
He's 199, I think, Radaglia, or 198.
And the reason why I say that is people go, oh, hang on, he's up against 200 plus. Paddy Ryder is an outstanding ruckman. Like at 33, 34, his best days are well behind him. You don't have to be overly tall. You've got to be able to jump. You've got to be able to anticipate. You've got to stay away from the big bodies that are going to maul you in stoppages. Just keep moving around. Paddy Ryder is a classical case of a Radaglia being able to say, don't take any notice of, I don't want to be Sandilands, I don't want to be Cox, I don't want to be these sort of players. Oh, okay, Paddy Ryder, right, that's the sort of player we're going to be.
And follow up at ground level, be another midfielder
That's
at
what he
ground
does.
level when it hits the deck. And I remember back to when I briefly played with Shane Mumford, and we've seen him do it his whole career. The beauty of him, he's not that big as in height-wise, he's a monster, but as soon as the ball hit the ground, you could drive a bus through the gaps that he created at ground level because of his desperation. That's what Radaglia could be for the Cats.
What's Port Adelaide done so well tonight to work its way into a commanding position, a 35-point lead?
I reckon it's because of their competitiveness. Isn't it amazing if we looked at the actual contested ball, Geelong are in front, but what it doesn't show is the referred pressure where Geelong have just not been able to use the football, or they've over-committed with the hand pass. Their kicking has let them down, but so has Port's, but their kicking under pressure has been picked off very easily behind the line by either Aliir in the first quarter, and then a combination of players past that. So we've said it here off air, we don't think Geelong are out of this by any stretch of imagination.
Port Adelaide, they just late in that quarter left the door open for the Cats a little bit. Yeah. 2 or 3 chances to just nail it shut, game's over. Now Geelong, then they have not played well. They've just got to go for it. They've got to move the ball quick, take the game on, risk losing by 10 goals to perhaps get on a roll and somehow win this game.
They need to find a bit of Melbourne from last week, Geelong, in the final term. A 35-point lead to Port Adelaide. High bounce, up goes Stanley, taps it down. Lycett collects it though, tackled by Dangerfield. Ball spills out to Boak. First clearance inside 50. Out comes Henderson, drops a mark he should have taken. He really has had a down night. Ball picked up in congestion by Boak. Hand pass to Motlop. Off to Fantasia for 4. More and more. It's the Port power heading to the prelim. Oh, it's been extraordinary from Port. Narazio on return. What a night he's had. 4 goals for the power. 10-10-70. Plays 3-11-29. And it took less than a minute to put Geelong away.
Well, Mick, I just said that Port hadn't nailed it shut in that third quarter. That's a good start. They've got the little nail punch out there and just whacked a couple of those in to make sure those nails are in nice and firm. Start a quarter like that, that's a strong message that no, Geelong, you're not going to come back from this.
It's the first time I think they've won a centre clearance.
Yes, it is.
So when you look at that, there's no better time to win a centre clearance when you want to put someone away.
Horatio Fantasia, 8 disposals, 4 goals won on return from injury.
Yeah, they've nailed their recruits, haven't they? When you think of this game, Aliir and Fantasia, impact on a big qualifying final, massive.
Okay, biggest margin, 41 points now. Dangerfield bursts through Drew, bursts through the pack. He thumps it all the way down towards Hawkins in a one-on-one. McKenzie does well. Handball for Aliir was a bit too hot. Burn Jones is there. He just toe pokes. It rubbers all the way back to Mitch Duncan. Handball's over to Cameron right up against the boundary. He's forced to throw it on his left boot. And Joel Selwood floating down, read it best in the air. And Joel Selwood will have a set shot directly in front. Just watching that opening bounce of this last term, and you just thought if the Cats got the first, it could be a different story. And Drew went straight to Selwood, and Selwood was talking to himself, gritting his teeth, almost saying, I can sense we can get back in this one. They have not kicked a goal, the Cats, since the 23-minute mark of the second term. Goalless in the third. Is it a moment of inspiration here from Joel Selwood? You bet it is. And he doesn't celebrate. He's cool as a cucumber. Couple of little low fives and straight back to the centre bounce because there's more work to be done. They're back to 35 points.
Yeah, all inside a minute or a minute and a bit of actual time. So all that's happened is we've just lost 1 minute and 20 seconds where we were at three-quarter time But that 1 minute is significant that both sides have scored a goal from a centre clearance. So, there's so much not spoken about with clearances. As you said, Lingy, there was 10 to none at one stage there. So, if you can dominate the centre square, defensive work and hold the ball in, you're going to eat up time one and have an opportunity to score.
That last centre clearance too was Dangerfield on the bolt.
Yes.
So maybe Geelong are going to be more aggressive. Dangerfield starting back off this centre circle, maybe just trying to charge through, surge onto it.
Lysett and Stanley. Stanley reaches over the top. Wines collects. Hand pass towards Boak. Didn't hit him. Dangerfield threw that out. Umpire blindsided. No. A belated call, and the umpire up near the 50 was better placed to see it. It was certainly there. Free kick to Port Adelaide in the middle of the ground.
But I think it's significant there, Lingy, what you just said. He was on the go straight through and just wanted the football.
Boak's kick. Motlop waited for it. Blitzarves the spoil. Houston gets it immediately tackled by Blitzarves and Dangerfield. They latched onto him. And a ball up Geelong's attacking side of the centre square. The Cats going to the Riverbank stand end in this final quarter.
Lysett tangles
Block, Port Adelaide free kick.
with Stanley. Stanley blocked him illegally. Free kick to Lysett while he's arguing with the umpire. Lysett handballs off to Wines. Wines puts it out in front of Laddams. Couldn't take it in the air. Got it on the bounce. Handballs back to Burne-Jones. Assesses the options and then goes towards Dixon. Almost. He was falling and he got his hands to the Sherrin, but falling into his back was Henderson. Goes towards the boundary line and now there's a wrestle. Atkins under the pump. He's happy to hold it in. He had Gray on his left shoulder and Fantasia on his right. He'd want to hold on to it because otherwise it'd be danger. Ball up right near the boundary line. Right forward pocket here for Port Adelaide. Laddams down to Boak. Boak from the impossible angle. He just loads up and goes the Hail Mary everything. And he misses it all. In fact, he just squeezed it in for a minor score.
Very interesting kick again from Boak. That's not the kick of a captain. You've got to put that 10, 15 metres out in front. And if you mark it, you mark it. But at least you can crumb it and have a chance. That's never going to go through from that kick.
Former skipper in Travis Boak. Port Adelaide by 36 points. Biggest lead.
Kick to the wing was marked by Dangerfield. He wants to take ground. Plays on. His kick is touched. Underneath it. Houston couldn't quite take it. Hawkins fights hard. Houston pulls it away. A hand pass to Amon, off to Jonas. A hand pass to Wines. He's been superb. He's been superb all season and he waits his kick perfectly. Boak on the wing. Now the kick towards half forward. Dixon peels off and marks at the top of the 50. Right half forward for the power. Goes to the forward pockets and the mark is taken by Gray. Now Robbie Gray, he's perfectly suited to this kick.
It's the last quarter, Al. It's the
40
last
minutes
quarter.
out. It's like Robbie Gray at the Gabba against Carlton last season, that kind of kick.
Mind you, it's not the last 5 minutes of the last quarter, so it's not a certainty, but he just loves these moments.
I tell you what though, Lingy, when he marked that football, he was looking to pass it off. At least he was looking for the team.
It's not kicking to the school end like he was at the Gabba, but Port Adelaide has certainly taken Geelong to school from 45 out. Robbie Gray's kick on the way. Oh, it's touched by Henry.
It's twice.
Literally on the line. It looked so good off the boot. It was on target. It didn't quite have the distance. The margin, 37 points to Port. 6-minute mark of the last.
If it wasn't for Jack Henry, Port would be 12 goals up.
Yeah, that's a great point, Cameron Lane. So they went quick with the kick into Rowan, who then took plenty of time. He's kicked it straight to the opposition. Bergman has marked it on the broadcast wing. So Gary Rowan started up forward. His direct opponent, Aaliyah, had a field day in that opening turn. They've switched him down back. He's kicked straight to the opposition. Kicks come in towards Laddam. Off hands it goes. Fantasia, twinkle toes. Back to Bonner. Standing start. Kick was smothered. 45 out directly in front. Rowan's got it. He's tackled by Drew to the ground. Drew goes in again. There's a pile of players there. And it won't be coming out. It'll be a ball up directly in front of goal for Port Adelaide. 72 plays 35.
From the stoppage, Bergman gets it for Port. Throws it on the boot inside the 50. The Cats have the numbers to clean it up. Hughes a hand pass to Dangerfield. From left half back, he uses his left and kicks neatly to the wing to Cameron. Cameron's had a quiet night. Cameron kicks to half forward. Stanley the target marks. McKenzie overcommits. Stanley can play on. Kicks inside the attacking 50. Dalehouse has got to go. Bergman and Aaliyah contested the same ball in the air. Selwood off to Myers. Hand pass to Hawkins. Top of the goal square. Hawkins for his second. Almost fell over. Threw it on his left boot and gave Geelong a glimmer. Just a faint glimmer of hope. 10-12-72 to 5-11-41. 8 played final term on Grandstand AFL.
Well, he did almost fall over too. I think he got a shock that he was so far clear. Good hand pass out in the open. One of the very few occasions when Aliir was in a good position, prime position, to actually spoil the ball, and he elected to tap it. I don't know whether it was half mark, half tap. What do I do here? And by not clearing the ball, gave Geelong a fairly meek hand or fall, which led him to latch onto. And
strong body lining the ball by Selwood. Got the handball out to Myers.
He's been involved. He kicked the first one and been involved in this second.
That's why Geelong fans love him.
Yep.
He's never going to stop trying to the very end.
He's lifted Joel Selwood, and the margin is 31 points. Bounce down in the centre. Boak throws it on the right boot to centre half forward. Over the heads it went of Colin Jasny. It beat a couple. Adams is sitting here at the back, tries to just scoop that back up to Gray. Gray's lurking. Henderson under the pump did well. Fires out the handball. Quick hands now to Parfitt, who's tackled by Bergman. Spills the way of Rosie. Handball's back inboard to Motlop. Breaks the tackle of Menegola. Tries to throw it on the right boot. Duncan was there with the smother, and then it comes back to Menegola outside of the boot. Bananas it down the line. Dalhouse and Aliir in a tussle. And it'll be a free kick here for Port Adelaide. Aliir will take it. Let's get down to Aaron Bryans on the boundary. There's a bit of a concern for one of their star players, Aaron.
Yeah, Razio Fantasia getting his left knee checked out, and that's the knee that caused him to miss the majority of this season as well.
Aliir goes in the Dixon direction. He just dabs it, trying to get it to Boak. Boak fires out the handball. Drew then just pinballs around to Amon. Slung around in a tackle. Parfitt steals it, hacks it towards Aliir and Dalhouse. And they tussle again, but neither can win it.
There's a chance. Why waste time with Fantasia? You've got Power Pepper, fresh player. This is where you do exploit the rules.
Well, Adelaide by 31 points. Razio Fantasia's got the cream all over his nose. He's got a nasty cut from an earlier collision with Gary Rowan, but the real worry is that he might also have a recurrence of a knee injury. Down to Aaron Bryans in a moment. Higgins gets it for Geelong on the wing, worked it towards Simpson. He's caught by Willem Drew, but he gets boots a ball to the edge of 50. Jonas comes to meet it. Cameron tackles him, locks it up. Let's go straight to Aaron Bryans.
Al Mick was bang on. Port Adelaide not taking any chances. Sam Powell-Pepper will be activated and Razio Fantasia out of the game.
Thank you, Aaron. Let's hope that's not a serious injury. From the stoppage, Higgins tackled by Drew. He's been very tenacious, Drew, with his tackling tonight. Ball dislodged. Bergman comes up with it. Eventually, a ball up. Top of the 50 for Geelong at centre half forward. Port by 31 points. Tapped down by Stanley. A massive bodies around the ball. Jonas emerges, tackled by Higgins, dropped it. Smith tries to rip it away for the Cats, but can't. And the umpire will intervene again. Centre half forward for Geelong, 10-12-72. Port Adelaide, the Cats 5-11-41. We've ticked over 11 played at the last.
Fantasia sits in the back of the bunker, puts the jacket on, and then a little high five. Good luck to Powell-Pepper, as Drew has been rewarded for a tackle on Menegola. He's got the big ice pack just on his left knee there at the moment, Fantasia. Powell-Pepper strips off, and he's got his Guernsey on. He's ready to be activated. And Willem Drew wins the free kick at centre half back.
He's laid 9 tackles, Kel, in this final.
To another youngster in Bergman. Second year player. Didn't play at all last year, Bergman. And there's warm applause for Powell-Pepper. He's a crowd favourite. And he's out there, and you'd expect that he'd want to make a quick impact. 12 and a half minutes to play. Geelong's kicked 5 goals for the entire match. They need 5 more if they're to pinch this one, to steal this one at the death. Port Adelaide leads it by 31 points. Spinning ball back into play on the outer wing. Chance for Blitzarves. Amon, Menegola back to Blitzarves. To Guthrie. Hasn't had much of an impact tonight. And then Simpson, who's bumped by Wines over the boundary, and Ollie Wines
got a corky out of that though, I think, Kel.
He did. He's a little bit sore, but look at the reaction from the crowd. He's close to the boundary. They're all up on their feet, hunched over. They love their vice-captain, their new All-Australian member.
Well, they've got a half-forward flanker that should be on the ball now, and that's Powell-Pepper. Give him a breather. Get him into the play straight away.
Menegola's underneath the stoppage, works it out towards Parfitt. His hand pass along the ground. Blitzarves tackled by Drew. Tackle number 10 was a beauty as well. Ball dislodged. Higgins got it, tried to get it to Parfitt. It spills free to Burne-Jones. Works a hand pass round the wing. Rosie zigging and zagging. He goes defensively. Bergman. Bananas around the outer wing. Big fly. Butters launches on the back of Atkins. Couldn't complete on the second bite. Menegola Robes. High kick around the wing. Bergman underneath it. Went through his hands. Bonner takes possession. Helicopter kick to the 50. And Kolajasny edges out Gray and takes the mark for the Cats. He feeds it out to right half back and Rowan can run for Geelong.
Run he does, and then he kicks. Oh, that's a free kick against Jeremy Cameron to the face of Jonas. The umpire didn't see it, but the crowd certainly did. 50-50 ball in the centre of the ground. Picked up by Houston. Powell Pepper with his first touch. Fended off by Dersma. Flicks the handball wide. He feeds it to Jonas. Jonas with the kick. Out in front of Powell Pepper. He's worked his way to half forward and he sees it over. Smith right on his tail. Seeing some replays of the Butters leap up over the top of Atkins. Put his hands to it, Lingy. He just fumbled it right at the last minute.
Landed awkwardly.
Very awkwardly.
He was going to go for the second grab, but his knee collapsed on him. And
Boundary.
it's good to see he's still out there because that looked ugly.
So Guthrie's just kicked that out of bounds on the full. Pressure applied from behind. Tonight Guthrie would probably rather forget.
It's almost like a hyperextension, Lee.
Yeah. That's that type of landing. When you see that, you worry for worst cases, but he's out there, staying out there, and
he's tough.
The docs aren't there around him.
Was the left knee that hyperextended, not the right that he's got the taping on?
So Dersma drives it long to the pack. Dixon was right in the middle. Gray sniffing around. Smith picks it up, tries to get rid of Gray. Somehow it goes to Joel Selwood, who just hacks it into the centre of the ground. Jonas is outnumbered. He cleverly slaps that back to Alia, who just guides or wedges that kick over the top. Got it to Wines. Wines now into the pocket. Charlie's got a long look at it. In the end, he had to spoil because he was caught behind. Picked up by Menegola. Rosie's got him. Menegola tried to give it over to Smith. Holding the ball. Free kick to Rosie. And we got Butters flying and launching for marks of the year. And we've got Rosie setting to add the finishing touches to this one. He's kicked a couple already, Rosie. In fact, has he kicked one tonight? No, he hasn't.
Impressive.
He's lined up for a couple.
By Charlie Dixon, the big contest. He got there really late. Henderson was in the box seat to take a simple intercept mark. He made that extra effort, brought it to ground, and then follow-up tackle by Rosie. Draws the free kick.
Well, he's a showman and he loves to celebrate. Tough angle. Doesn't give it any chance it'll stay in play off hands. Butters can't keep it in. And it'll be a boundary throw in the left forward pocket.
Missed a lot of goals.
Thank you.
A lot of goals have stayed out there. They just haven't hit the scoreboard at all. Some of the at both ends really, but particularly with Port.
10-12 Port, Geelong 5-11. Port Adelaide by 31 points at the 16-minute mark of the last quarter. Blitzarves knocks it down in ruck. Isaac Smith had it knocked away by Amon. Gray rode a tackle, gave to Powell Pepper. Could the sub? No. A bending ball from 40 metres out. He snapped and missed on the left-hand side. Another miss for Port, the margin 32.
Rowan's on the kick-in duties. He loads up and goes straight down the ground where Alir is in the centre circle. Over his head, Dalhouse getting involved. Off to Smith. They could go end-to-end here. Smith towards Hawkins. Dropped it right at the last minute. Kept it in play. Socket off the ground. Missing. Cameron with a toe poke was clever but offline. Only 30 centimetres out. Trying to go coast to coast. Move of desperation. It almost came off. Margin is 31 points. Port Adelaide lead it. They led by 10 by quarter time, 29 at half time, 35 at the last change, and it currently sits at 31 with 9 minutes to play. Al.
Burton brings the ball back in for Port Adelaide. Towards the wing. Rowan's up. Couldn't mark. Comes the way of Dalhouse. Tackle. Gave to Menegola. Gave to Kolajasny. Caught by Laddams. I'm not sure that was a hand pass. It came free to Stanley. To Atkins, to Menegola, awkward kick through the attacking 50. Burne-Jones attacked it hard. Arched his back, gave a hand pass to Amon. His hand pass no good. Dangerfield almost had it. Spilled back to Amon. Tackled by Dangerfield. Got a hand pass off. And now it comes to Burne-Jones, who received it. Works it back across towards fullback. Jonas to right half back, and Bergman's got the defensive side of the wing to himself. He chips to Pal Pepper. The fans happy to see him out there. Still the defensive side of the outer wing for Port, who can ease their way to victory, ease their way to a preliminary final, one that will be at the Adelaide Oval, we're led to believe. Kick went around the wing and Drew is marked centre wing out of side. Kicks Port Adelaide towards the half-forward flank. Holding in the marking contest. Kolajasny took the mark, but Henry had been paid the free kick near defensive 50.
He's been one that can hold their head up high for Geelong tonight. Henry.
They've got to be aggressive now, Geelong. Just got to throw everything. Like that kick out from Rowan before. Be prepared to go down the middle. Just swarm onto it. Yes, you risk being scored against the other way, but doesn't matter now. Just got to go for it.
It's Smith who goes for it straight down the centre. He's been listening to Lingy, but Jonas is there to mop up to Burn Jones. Can release the run out wide of Rosie. He has a bounce, assesses the options, pokes it in the Dixon direction when he dropped it right at the last minute because of the pressure from that man, Henry. So Henry doing well, and instead of a mark to Dixon, it'll be a boundary throw-in. Crowd of 20,000 in for this one. We're just waiting for that one more goal, one more major to cement it so they can enjoy these final 7 minutes. Comes back in play. Butters handballing back to Burn Jones from the wing inside 50 again, looking for Dixon. Again, he gets both hands to it. Again, he can't take the mark. Henry's there. He's tackled by Boak to the ground.
And again, it's Jack Henry. It's the one who's standing up for the Cats, just trying to hold back this torrent at the moment.
Gee, they've missed Stewart tonight. He's out injured, as we know. Boak tries to keep it in play. Bananas centering kick as well through the hands of Marshall. Waiting at the back with Smith. Here comes Pal Pepper, bursting through to Dersma. Back to Pal Pepper, back to Dersma, off to Motlop. Kick has been marked by Henderson at the top of the defensive goal square.
He goes short with his pass to Simpson. Simpson still deep inside defensive 50 at the Cathedral end. Kicks to the middle of the ground. Out comes Cameron. Can't complete the mark under the Jonas pressure. Little left foot snap. Burton towards the boundary line. Pal Pepper couldn't keep it in. And a boundary throw in left half forward for Port.
They haven't piled on the goals in this little period where it's been in their half of the ground, but they've burnt 4 or 5 minutes off the clock. Just making sure of the game.
Laddams the tap. Winds. Hunts it. Can't gather it. Dangerfield does. Gives it straight to Bonner. He fumbled it. Paddled to Laddams. Laddams did well under pressure. Hand pass over his shoulder to Drew. Defensive hand pass to Winds. Good kick. The chip ball. Found the intended target. Dersma off to Bonner. By hand. And now by hand to Boak. And now by hand to Motlop. And now by hand to Boak. And Boak goes for home from outside 50. Geez, been inaccurate in recent weeks. He had 3 goals, 6 in his previous 2 coming in. I'll make that 3 behinds and 1 out on the full for Travis Boak tonight. Port Adelaide, though, by 32 points at the 21-minute mark.
Rowan goes the floater down the middle. Couldn't quite get the sweet connection, but Smith's able to mop it up and then toe poke it out into space at half forward. Alia is going to win the foot race. He beats Stanley to it, and his kick is perfection. He curls it around on the left, and Dersma takes the mark, defensive side of this broadcast wing. What a story, Alia. All-Australian last night. Dominated the first term. He set them up with this win here this evening. And the kick from Dersma goes along down the line, and it's off hands. It's a 32-point margin to Port Adelaide with 5 minutes to play. And the fans, you can just feel it. They're just willing one more goal, one more moment to celebrate. Closing in on 7 straight wins. Boundary throw in front of the Cats bench. Ruckman couldn't get it. Hughes got it. He's tackled by Bergman. It'll be a ball up.
Thrown in the end of the AFL logo. Lysett knocked it down to Boak. Boak a hand pass to Bergman. Squeezed a kick to half forward. Attacking it. Kolajasny at his bootlaces. It ricochets the way of Butters, who gives to Pal Pepper, who might just bring Adelaide Oval to its feet. He goes on the run from 45 outs and confirms Port Adelaide's victory. A commanding display one that secures a prelim final, one at the Adelaide Oval. The possibilities for Port, how good it's been for Ken Hinkley and his team. 11-14-80 plays 5-12-42. 23 played, final term on Grandstand AFL.
Like they've done all night, just some good clean hands around half forward. Butters, first of all, flicking out the handball to Sam Powell-Pepper. He had a couple of options to run it all the way, but when you're fresh, just trying to send a little message to the coach that, hey, if you need me in the prelim final, I'm here for you. He bangs it home.
You know, I reckon the fans are trying to send a message to the coach as well.
They like him,
Pick him. Is he the most popular sub in the history of subs? 80 plays 42. Now the power chant goes up around Adelaide Oval as Dangerfield bursts through the centre. Handballing over the top to no one in particular. Bonner goes without it. It's picked up by Parfitt. Gives it to Higgins, who got activated as a sub as well. Mark O'Connor out with a hamstring injury, which is a real concern for the Cats. It's his second hamstring for the year. So he's off. Fantasia's been subbed off for Port Adelaide. So at centre half forward, a high tackle against Drew.
Travis got him with the up.
Higgins a little lucky. He'll receive the free kick.
Very lucky. Certainly a good hard tackle.
38 points the margin. Waiting for it was Menengola. He spears the pass straight to Dersma, playing in front of Blitzarves.
The so-called kids have been very, very good.
Yep.
Butters, Rosie, Dersma, Drew. You know, they've held up and they've given some excitement.
Bergman as well. Throw him in.
Oh,
He's been excellent. Hasn't fumbled.
Excitement and energy they've provided for this Port Adelaide team. So the kick from Houston, off hands it goes. It's toe poked by Dixon, only as far as Atkins in the centre of the ground to Henry. Continues to battle his heart out. Worked its way now to Menengola. How's his kick this time inside 50? Not much better. He's not giving his forwards a chance. Amon handballing under pressure to Jonas, who just says, let's get it out of here. Straight down the centre of the ground. And Henry, a wonderful juggling mark in front of Powell-Pepper.
Jack Henry, one of few Cats to be able to hold his head very high. Kicks into the middle, not his best kick. Port Adelaide just swarming everywhere. Henderson the target. Rosie dived in front of him to mark and kicks to half forward. Boak's taken the mark. 47 out. He kicks to Powell-Pepper at full forward. He's got it! Powell-Pepper! The Adelaide Oval rises again.
Mick called it at the start of the night. It was his first comment of the night. Why isn't he playing?
Tyson Goldsack told his former coach he might yet have a role to play, and he certainly has.
Well, Kenny Hinkley's pretty happy about it, which is fantastic. Isn't it great to see a young bloke hold his nerve and come on?
To the cathedral end. Amen. It's over. 12-14-86 Port Adelaide. Geelong 5-12-42. Powell-Pepper with the late cameo. 2 goals. As if he could bring any more joy to Port Adelaide fans, and Powell-Pepper goes bang bang. He pokes his tongue out in celebration. And there are Port Adelaide fans leaving their seats, marching around the aisles, waving their scarves. And they might be doing it again in a couple of weeks. Listen to the Adelaide Oval. (12-14-86) to 5-12-42. Port Adelaide with the rails run into the prelim, and Geelong again will take the long road.
You can't drop him now, Ken Hinkley. Good luck. Someone will be the sub next week. Here's Dangerfield trying to drag something late. Bursting through the centre, kicking towards the top of the goal square. Alia pounces, and then he knocks down Simpson to the ground. He's throwing his weight around. He's had such a presence down there. Houston on the mop up to Wines, collecting more. That's Ollie Wines' possession, number 31. The hurried kick out of half-back, though, is stolen by Duncan. Duncan to Guthrie. Inside that centre square, Cam Guthrie. This is his 17th possession for the night. Into the pocket, backing back. Menengola was pinpoint pass tough angle, but Menegola takes a strong mark in front of Amon and will have a set shot.
Sam, come around.
It's been a tough night for Menegola and Cam Guthrie, the two players who combined there, been part of a midfield that's been beaten. Duncan's had a heap of ball, but most of that across half-back.
Just 5 goals for the evening with a minute left on the clock. Menegola in the left forward pocket misses.
That's all clear.
Missed his opportunity.
50 metres.
The Cats missed their opportunity. There was a bit of push and shove in the goal square. Ollie Wines is involved, and Ollie Wines is going to receive a 50-metre penalty here. It's against a Geelong player.
I'd say Hawkins.
Yeah, Hawkins has got him high.
On.
Push and shove, and Hawkins has got him high. So a 50 for Port Adelaide as they soak up the final 56 seconds. Alistair Nicholson.
Wines goes to Bergman on the wing. He kicks defensively to Bonner. So Bonner to Lycett. They are jumping in the stands, clapping, cheering, chanting, elation. Port Adelaide took quite some time to convince that they were a legitimate premiership contender. Beat the Bulldogs last week. And now the Cats in commanding fashion. Perhaps they're timing their run to perfection. Dangerfield kicked it straight to Alir. Every moment here is cause for unbridled joy for Port Adelaide fans as they work it through defensive 50. In the right back pocket, Amon has taken the mark.
Soaking up the seconds. Every single member inside the Adelaide Oval. Hands are clapping. The drums are beating. 7 days ago, they hadn't beaten a team inside the top 4. Now they've downed the Dogs and the Cats. It's a power home preliminary final for the second straight year. They're going to hit September fully charged. They demolished the Cats by 43 points. Alir dominating in that opening term. Port by 10 at quarter time, by 29 at half time, by 35 at three-quarter time. They prevail by 43 points. Fantasia with 4 goals, 2 to Motlop and 2 to the super sub. And the favourite player in the house tonight, Pal Pepper. For the Cats, they'll host a semi-final next Friday night against the Swans or the Giants. And when we say host, we think Perth, but we're not quite sure. The story right now is Port Adelaide, fans back at the footy, and great scenes in the City of Churches this evening.
Performance from Port Adelaide, thumping Geelong. 12-14-86 to 5-13-43, so doubling the Cats' score to win by 43 points. 20,000. How vocal they were, how delighted they are. So repeating those goal kickers, Fantasia 4, 2 to Motlop, 2 to Pal Pepper, both in the last quarter. Horacio Fantasia with a bit of a niggle to his troublesome knee. And he came off, we think, as a precaution. A goal to Marshall, a goal to Gray, a goal to Butters and a goal to Laddams for Port. While for Geelong, 2 goals to Hawkins in his 300th game, a goal to Cameron, a goal to Selwood and a goal to Simpson. We'll get reactions from the winners' rooms. Port Adelaide will get a week off and then the opportunity to prepare for a home preliminary final. We're told that Port Adelaide will get the opportunity to host the prelim at the Adelaide Oval. And if Brisbane beats Melbourne, that opportunity will also fall to the Brisbane Lions to host a prelim at the Gabba. But what we know is Port Adelaide winners by 43 through to the prelim. The Cats now with the hard road again, the road they took last year to make a grand final. It's going to take 4 finals if they're going to win a premiership. Cats beaten by Port Adelaide in last year's qualifying final by 16 points and 43 tonight. So we'll get you into the rooms for the song. We'll get reactions from the Power as well. Cameron Ling and Mick Malthouse, though, get the first say on the night. And Tom Hawkins, before we get to them, being chaired off the ground in a fairly low-key manner, but as is the custom of the day, the team's forming a guard of honour for a champion of the game. Joel Selwood equalled Geelong's games record on 332 with Corey Enright. He's on one side, Mitch Duncan on the other. And Tom Hawkins departs the scene still with much football to play this season. A big role for him to play, but not his night tonight. The 2 goals in a 43-point loss. And the Port Adelaide fans, who were noisy and really with Geelong at any stage tonight, found just a hint of silence there to honour that moment. So that was a nice end. And now the Port players, you can see the celebration, the energy in that group, how they've timed their run in season 2021. Lingy and Mick.
She was impressive from Port Adelaide, Mick. From start to finish, they were hard in the contest. Their pressure was enormous. Aaliyah was massive influence right throughout the whole night. Even when he wasn't marking and getting the ball, they still were worrying about him all night. But then their ball use, Mick, it was scintillating. When they were piling on those goals, they were ripping the ball through the middle of the ground, quick hands, using the ball off the line, getting it in quick to their forwards. It was high-quality footy.
Probably the only thing, Wingy, that's really was a little bit downer was the fact that they only scored 12 goals for absolutely dominating display. 26 shots for 60 inside 50s, I think it was. 60 inside 50. So that would be the only. I mean, I think Robbie Gray got 2 touched on the line.
Yes.
Rosie missed his across the face. There was a lot of maybes. Marshall hit the post directly in front.
Probably 4 pretty simple set shots.
Absolutely.
That they could have kicked.
Especially early.
Yep.
But what they've done is anyone who was a little bit sore, and Fantasia's a little bit sore, Dixon's a little bit sore, Robbie Gray, their older players get that week's. It's nothing better than this time of the year to have a week up your sleeve to say, righto, let the next side who we're going to be playing belt the hell out of each other. We have got a breather, and we get our bodies right. And mentally, you're already cock-a-hoots, you're already really confident. But then you get your body right, and without this break at round 23, all of a sudden those sides who are in the bottom half of the 4 are going to come at you without the break.
Bit bashed up. That's right. So there's no pre-finals bye.
No.
We've still got technically a week off up our sleeve at some stage. Cal, I just wonder what you're hearing. Is there any chance we plough through this final series and have the grand final a week earlier than scheduled because they just want to get it done? And that week off that Port Adelaide now have becomes even bigger. What are you hearing?
I haven't heard them say no to it.
I think it's very unlikely,
Really?
particularly if the grand final is to remain in Perth. They would need that week for quarantining purposes.
After the preliminary final.
What if both prelims are played? Or because the prelim will be here, right? Okay. Yeah. As in Adelaide Oval.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's one prelim.
So they would. It depends. Unless there's a change, they would need those 2 weeks to quarantine.
Okay, so they might. All the teams that ultimately make the grand final might get the benefit of a week off then. So great, but you're right. Coming into a preliminary final, being the team that's rested, and Dixon and Fantasia, you can get their bodies right and let the other teams go at it. Without that pre-finals bye that we've had the last few years, it becomes an even more important win. And
well, particularly if I can say, and I know you've got you've got an area in Geelong, particularly when they are the old. And look, there's bonuses to be an older side, and there's the unfortunate thing about an older side is your body takes longer to recover. have a look at those numbers today. There's a lot of players in there that just weren't at their top and have trailed off. As hard as Selwood tries, he's just off a little bit. Dangerfield had a big last quarter, but he's off a little bit. Duncan, next week will be second game back, so it'll be interesting how he goes. Hawkins has been remarkably good, but Henderson's a bit wobbly.
Duncan found a lot of easy ball tonight, so he took 13 marks, a lot of uncontested. Dangerfield, you said, he found a bit of ball, but he turned it over a lot because it was so much of it's under pressure and out of congestion trying to break through. So don't be fooled by the numbers, I think, with those two. You're right, Nick. When in the middle of the ground, they needed somebody or a group of somebodies to lift to the level of Wines and Boak and all those players. Guthrie couldn't do it tonight. Parfitt didn't really do it tonight. No. Menegola didn't do it tonight. Isaac Smith didn't have his biggest game tonight. Found a bit of the ball was okay, but didn't really jump up.
No.
And those running, fresher legs weren't able to match Port Adelaide.
All right. A question and a quick answer. If these players are under the pump, think about who can replace them. Dalhouse has been, I know he's there for tackling this and stuff, but you've got to get the footy. Been ordinary.
Yes.
Missed an easy shot.
Agreed.
So who comes in? Stanley, do you stay with Stanley? I thought he actually rucked okay today. I didn't think he didn't let Lysette dominate. O'Connor will be out. Views has his days. Colin Jessing's okay. This guy's he'll stay. Higgins, really, for a player that promised a lot, really didn't do much. They'll keep Cameron, they'll keep Hawkins in. Henderson, Lockie's Lockie. So have you got replacements, Lindy?
Well, Radigalia was named as an emergency, obviously. Zach Guthrie.
And what about Narkle?
I'd have Narkle in there. I'd have Radigalia in there.
Tui could, or is he still?
Tui might come back.
Yeah, so that's the other one.
That's a big.
And if you want fresh legs, it's a risk. What's wrong with Max Holmes? Outstanding runner. Didn't look out of his comfort zone last week. Don't know.
We'll come back to that. The final score, 12-14-86, Port Adelaide, Geelong 5-13-43. We'd love to hear what you thought of it all. 0437 774 774. But for now, let's go in with the winners. What Adelaide's doing at the moment, that even reflected in the rendition of the song. Mark in Canberra says a pretty impressive win except for the goal kicking. I bet they can go one better than last year, says Mark, so that would mean at least a grand final appearance. 0437 774 774. Good to have you with us, Mark. I'm a Port supporter, but Geelong are lucky Henry stood up. One of their few four-quarter players, says Daniel from Mount Barker in South Australia. And Mike in Kyneton, terrific call. Thanks, Kellen. Guys, Port just too good. I hate to say this, Cameron, the Cats always work so hard, but tonight they looked old and tired to me, says Mike. Early on, there were 5 lead changes in the first 25 minutes, and the margin was swinging back and forth, only 3 points in it. And then from quarter time onwards, Port Adelaide just completely owned the game, and even though they didn't put it on the scoreboard, and that was in the face of a heavily lopsided free kick count as well.
It was really impressive. The big thing, though, early on, it was Geelong were throwing a lot at them, and then Port's pressure grew and confidence grew with Aliir doing what he was doing. When Port Adelaide created the turnover, they were able to slice through Geelong. So that run, Geelong weren't able to sustain the run and the outside legs that like Port did. So they were flicking the ball around by hands, using the corridor, taking the game on, and Geelong looked a million miles off in that. So the big question for the Cats, with the question you were posing to me, Mick, was does Chris Scott trust the team that played tonight and say, I'm putting this on you, you lift and you sort it out and I will trust you to get it done? Or has that been eroded a little bit and he said, well, we need to add some sort of younger legs into the group, and a name I probably missed before, a Jordan Clark. Does he come in? So maybe it's a Jordan Clark and a Quinton Narkle with perhaps a Sava in the ruck. And then that's Stanley, O'Connor, maybe Higgins. maybe Gary Rowan. What the question we posed during that? What do you do with Gary Rowan, given he was comprehensively beaten as a forward with Aaliyah and the job that he did? Showed something across half back, but is that going to work? Is that going to be something they're going to want to go with going forward? So lots of questions for Geelong. The beauty now for Ken Hinkley and his group is he's got options. Yep. If Fantasia hopefully comes up okay, given the 2 weeks off, Pal Pepper showed in his brief appearance that he's a quality player who can stand up in a preliminary final,
and
can
tough,
kick goals, hard, will give everything he possibly can.
He's as hard as a cat's head, and that's what you need in finals, you know.
So they've got options. They've got the comfort of resting up their players, and they've got options. Geelong now just has a bunch of questions.
It is when you lose a final like that. Yeah. The question, but I reckon it's on the back of also losing to Melbourne, because the Cats of old, and I'm saying in the last couple of years, just you're 5 in front. You can't beat Geelong, and especially at Geelong. You end up looking at 10. But they surrendered very meekly last week against Melbourne. And
they've lost 2 of their last 3. Well, they've lost 3 of their last 4.
Yes.
Taking this into account because we were at the Giants game a month ago.
Games. And GWS really probably surprised themselves that they won the way they did, because if they hadn't have been so surprised, they actually could have put Geelong away a lot earlier, because they really did dominate most of that game. So this is the questions now, Lingy, for a coach, and I look at, I'm previous coach, you can look at it as a captain and having faith in your teammates, is when does that, do you go, oh, well, we're going to throw it in, but we get beaten, we're out in straight sets, or do you go, look, you know what, we have to do something about this side. It's not a matter of teaching players, like if we say they drop Higgins, they go, oh, you're out of the side. It's not a matter of teaching him, oh, we're going to make you pay for it. It's, no, we think that we need leg speed. Myers is another player who was really, he's dropped off from last year. He's not the player, he's not the goal kicker he was.
It's a strange shift in psyche for them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because the Giants game, coming out of that in the week or two after, felt like, oh, well, it was the kick up the backside they needed. It was the shot, they'll get going, they'll take that as a sting. They got over St Kilda, bit scratchy, but got over St Kilda. Played some of the most scintillating football that we've seen all year in the second quarter against Melbourne. Going, oh, yeah, okay. This is the premiership favourite we're watching right now. Then that last quarter happens, and we roll into tonight and we watch that, and now all sorts of doubts come flooding in about this Geelong team. Can they sustain it? Do they have the run? Are they too reliant on this player? Are they too reliant on that player? Is it going to work without Tom Stewart there? So from that third quarter, or three-quarter time of that Melbourne game, their last 5 quarters have just posed so many questions and so many doubts, whereas in the second quarter of that Melbourne game, Cal, they looked like they were the premiership favourites by a mile.
It's now, I mean, they must hear the talk now or never, and you have a look at the last 5 years and what they've done. I mean, a runner-up last year, then a prelim final, elimination final, prelim final. So 3 of the last 5 years, they've made it to the prelim or the grand final. And here they are, losing up front again. You go back over the record, it's happened quite frequently in recent years. They lose their first final, it plants the seed, and suddenly it just ramps up the pressure.
Well, it does, but at some stage, you might be 10% off, but have they got the capacity with their age? And I'm using the age there is a line there. Have they got the capacity now to improve that 10%? My thing on that is, what's happened to Cam Guthrie? I mean, he's a player that was up around 30-odd, and he would get him 20-odd kicks. I can't really recall how he went against Greater Western Sydney, but he doesn't seem to be now the player he was early in the season. There's a few of these players that have just dropped off, and I don't know whether they're going to capture that 10% to 15% they're down. So perhaps you're right, Lingy. Perhaps they've got to go, let's flip it over and give the kids a chance to come in and give us some run and excitement. And you know full well there's one thing's a certainty. You get the ball to Cameron and to Hawkins, they're going to cause some major damage. But if you keep kicking on the top of Alira's head, or there was 65 tackles by Port today, and they were all really good tackles because they gave Geelong no room.
And young Willem Drew laid 11 of them in the game. We're told Darcy Byrne-Jones is going to join us from the Power very shortly. Just on Cam Guthrie, Mick, he had 24 disposals against GWS and then responded with 36 against St Kilda and 30 against Melbourne. But tonight, just the 17 disposals for Cam Guthrie, 10 contested. He had 6 kicks and 11 hand passes. Mitch Duncan led the way with 33, but then the next best 23 for Geelong, Isaac Smith and Dangerfield. You look at Port Adelaide, and again it's those prime movers, Ollie Wines and Travis Boak, 33 and 32. Carl Amon got a heap of it again, 25 disposals for him. We talked about Wines and Boak at the start of the game, Lingy, and they delivered in the pressure of finals football.
Oh, they did, and I could just think of so many moments when the game's on the line, the first half, first 3 quarters, Boak coming through, taking a ground ball, one grab, really clean, and flicking out a handball, a creative handball, to a Port player cutting through the middle of the ground and setting up a forward opportunity, a scoring opportunity. I can think of so many times Ollie Wines just body lining the ball, making, I think you called one of them, Cal, making the ball his own, and almost a feeling of every other player didn't really want it and it was his footy, get out of my way, and then he kick-started a really aggressive passage of play. So for your 2 A-grade, absolute A-grade midfield leaders in Wines and Boak to set that sort of standard throughout the game, that's why the likes of Amon and Dersma and even Burn-Jones off half-back and Bergman, they all grow in confidence when you see your blue chippers, your Boak and your Wines, just say, that footy's mine, I'm going to be clean and I'm going to create something for the rest of us to get going.
So, to our experts, Cameron Ling and Mick Moldhouse, is this a better Port Adelaide team than 12 months ago? The team that beat the Cats by 16 points in the qualifying final and lost to Richmond in that epic prelim by 6 points. If they take this team into the prelim, there's 5 different players. There's no Ebert, there's no Hartlett, there's no Cleary or Rockcliffe, and no Bonner, who was overlooked.
Much better.
Well, Lear for start. Just put a Lear in there to start off.
Fantasia's
on his day, because he can be locked out, and he was locked out for a long time, except for the last minute of the first quarter. Then it happened for him.
This is a better version of Wines than last year.
Yeah, and the kids, they're all better.
Yep.
They're all a year older. Lysette is... I thought he lowered his colours tonight, quite frankly, but him and Laddams together make a really good combination.
This isn't a better version of Charlie Dixon.
No, it's not.
Compared to last year, but that's being harsh because Dixon was unbelievable last year. But he's still competing. Every single time that ball came in high, it's coming to ground.
I'm going to give you one scenario, Lingy. Tell me, if Georgiades is fit for prelim, who goes out for him to come in?
Ooh, good question.
Be Marshall?
We've got to bring Powell Pepper in maybe, and we've got to bring Georgiades in. Good question,
Yeah,
Mick.
so Fantasia was the one that came in, but was going to come in regardless, and Georgiades going out made it an easy shift, but that's no longer an easy thing.
Maybe Marshall.
No, I mean, Marshall's the one that you compare with, but do you take him out?
Todd Marshall's his teacher's pet a bit, isn't he? He always
has Stevie Motlop done enough? He kicked a couple of goals. Has he done enough to retain his position?
I wouldn't go with him in a prelim, but that's just a personal thing.
I'd certainly be going with Powell Pepper, and that's in the 22. So no, I think Motlop's he's done the damage for the finals, and pat him on the back. And I only say that because you just know the next game probably will be. Well, there's going to be another side coming at them.
Kenny Hinkley will always he'll always want to back in the highly skilled player who can just have his day and kick you 2 or 3. And he played as a half-back flanker, but you remember the way that Kenny played was creative and would
kickoffs were just
balk
outstanding.
players and take the game. He loves those players with the X factor, and he feels that he can capture them on a given day. He'll get 2 or 3 goals from a player like that, and that's why he's prepared to put a Motlop in.
Okay, well, Georgiades? Does Georgiades come back in?
Well, it's a hamstring, so you'd think it's 3 weeks, and that is 3 weeks. Yeah. So it would be touch and go.
Well, they almost were talking him up playing this week. They said it's
They felt like it was not as significant as first thought.
So they're in a good position. Put it that way. They've got probably no injuries from today outside of Fantasia's knee, but that looks okay. So you'd suspect, and that's sometimes that falls your way. You've got to win. You've beaten the Cats. You go into a prelim final, and you've got to look at your list, and you go, you know what? We've got 1 or 2 left over. How fortunate. Geelong. We're looking at Geelong saying next week, and we're going, do they need to make changes, or is Chris Scott going to go? What Lingy said, well, you've got us here. Now it's up to you to win this game. They'll play Sydney or GWS, won't they?
Yes, correct.
Sydney, if they get over the line this weekend, they'll probably improve their side with Kennedy and Mills coming back in. That's a fair side. Or they play GWS, who had a really good day out against them last time out, and also worry them because Leon Cameron now would go, right, what we've got to do, there's no Tom Stewart, but we still keep 6 forwards and we make them earn it, and we know that if we separate them, they're not as good as us on the ground. So either one's going to make a big... You don't want to be looking at the prospect of out and straight set.
The thing that has tended to define Geelong over the last 4 or 5 years has been their ability to bounce back when they've had that down performance. So they look poor, they're completely outplayed, they're heavily beaten, or they lose a game that they should not have lost, and then the following week it's look out. I've seen it countless times. There were losses to Essendon a few years ago. They bounced back from those. Phenomenal form on the back end of a bad beating. That's now 2 really bad weeks in a row now for Geelong. As much as the first half was good for Geelong last week at Kardinia Park, to be rolled when they were 44 points up and then to be beaten by 43, is this something that can be turned around?
Well, I say it's difficult because I don't know how much room their better players have got to improve. Because the kids will always have their ups and downs, and they can have a bad one and come back and be 20% better.
I'll get to it after we have a chat. I'd rather go down to the winners' room.
We've got important matters to get to, Cameron Ling. You just calm yourself and have a little think about things. Darcy Byrne-Jones has joined us from the Port Adelaide Football Club. Darcy, outstanding performance tonight. Congratulations. Sum up the mood in the rooms for us.
Yeah, obviously the boys pretty excited. A lot of hard work, going into this year, and a lot of sacrifices from everyone at the club. So to be able to play like we did tonight and get a home prelim, something pretty significant. So the boys just really happy and everyone up and about, as you can imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. Give us a sense of the key areas that you planned for tonight and how you delivered upon those plans.
Yeah, we came into the game knowing that they like to take marks and kick marks. So, we had a real focus on getting our pressure up and trying to get the ball on the ground and let our small guys, do their thing. And then, obviously our mids in the centre with the contested possession as well. So we just wanted to win those 2 areas, and we thought that'd take us a long way to winning the game, and I think it probably did.
Darcy, well done tonight. Fantastic win. Give us a sense of being out there, the crowd, the energy, the free kick count a little bit in the first half. The crowd was right into it. A home final. How was it out there, and were you feeding off that energy?
Yeah, it was for 20,000, it was, pretty loud. I said to someone at half-time, like, gee whiz, can't believe there's only 20,000 people here, how loud it was. And like you said, they got into the game through a few free kicks that we gave away, and 20,000 sounded like 50 really. So, you can't help but feed off it and use that momentum. And, we're really pleased that we're able to play tonight in front of a crowd.
And speaking of energy, just the way that you guys played, there seemed to be a real focus on move the ball quick, take it on, flick the ball around them. Travis Boak was superb at that in the first half. Was that a big thing that you thought if you could get speed on the game when you had the footy, it could really worry the Cats?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said before, they like to take marks and take a bit of the speed out of the game. So we thought that if we could put some speed back on the game and go at them and put them under pressure, and they're obviously missing a pretty significant piece down back in Stewart, so we thought if we could put their defenders under some pressure and get the ball in there quick, that would be a chance to score.
Darcy, congratulations on a great win. Tell us about Alira, what he's meant to the football club and you personally as a fellow backline player.
Yeah, he's been really significant for our group. The connection that he's made with the group so quickly has been really significant, and the story of his background and the way he got here is pretty inspiring, and what he's doing out in the field is just as inspiring as well. And he's a really important player for us, obviously, and he played really well again tonight.
And what about your super sub tonight? I reckon we could have turned the telly off and stood out in the street, we'd have heard it here in Melbourne. The crowd really loves Power Pepper, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And, you know, everyone at the club loves him as well. You could just see the excitement, even, you know, on his face before the game. He came in as the sub, and, you know, he's probably just about, you know, the most excited player there was, and, you know, he was the sub. So that says a lot about him as a person, and, you know, it was, you know, great to see him come out and kick a couple of goals and be able to celebrate. And, yeah, he's going to be an important player for us going forward.
Sure. And Fantasia, is it a mild knee, do you know, or are you aware of his position at the moment, injury-wise?
I'm not sure. I think I had a quick look at his nose, and it wasn't too straight. So hopefully it's just a broken nose, but I'm not exactly sure.
Sure. Now, so you guys have got 2 weeks. So what do you do now? Do you have a close look at clearly next week? But are you what's the program for you personally? Do you watch the football? Do you watch the games, the next 3 games, or do you sort of take a break from footy? What is it?
Yeah. Well, we've got a couple of days of isolation, so we can't leave the house for a couple of days. So no doubt tomorrow there'll be some footy on the TV, and, you know, maybe some races and stuff. But I think you got 2 weeks, so you don't want to stay up too up and too you know, worrying about the footy too much. So you just, you know, try and relax, I guess, and take it all in, and enjoy a week's rest and get the body right, and you know, look forward to see who we're playing in the prelim.
So when you say you got 2 days of isolation, is it?
Yep. Yeah.
So what is that? A South Australian? Obviously, it's a South Australian medical rule. Is that because you're contaminated by the Geelong players?
Yeah, essentially so, because we've come into contact to people that have been in Victoria. We have to do a couple of days of isolation, and then have a COVID test, and if they all come back negative, then we're free to go about our business again.
Hey, Darcy, mid-year you had the 3 young guns, Rosie, Butters and Dersma, all suffered kind of serious injuries. We didn't know when they were going to come back, and they've played the last 6 games together. I think you've now won 7 in a row. Is it any coincidence that those 3 boys are back? And I guess that just looks like they give you so much energy and bounce.
Yeah, you're right. They definitely do, and them coming back into the team has been, you know, really important for us. And guys like Robbie was out as well. We've lost Motts as well. So those guys are really important for our forward pressure and energy. And, you know, they're obviously really good finishers around goal as well. So, you know, it's been really important for us to get them back. And it's great to see them back to playing some really good footy.
When the announcement was made this week, we know it's not confirmed, but you happy to play in a grand final at Perth Stadium and not Adelaide Oval?
I'm happy to play a grand final anywhere.
I knew you'd say that.
I
knew you'd say that.
Yeah.
Well handled, Das. Thanks for your time. Congratulations on the win, and enjoy the break before the prelim.
Cheers. Thanks for having me on.
Darcy Byrne-Jones with us on Grandstand AFL. Port Adelaide 12-14-86 to Geelong 5-13-43. Karen was asking on the text. Karen, it's going to be Geelong versus the winner of Sydney and the Giants. So that match coming up tomorrow on Grandstand AFL. So Geelong still alive in the final series, and Port Adelaide go through to a home prelim. That's the first match for broadcast tomorrow.
Likely on a Friday night, that next week's game.
Swans and the Giants tomorrow, and then the Friday night would be
the Cats and the winner of that game.
Yep. Because
at the Adelaide Oval? In Perth.
No, in Perth. If as it stands.
Yep.
So the Cats are due to fly to Perth tomorrow morning.
Yes. Yep.
And base themselves there for the rest of the final series, if it pans out like that. Melbourne put their hand up and they wanted the Saturday night game, which meant because Sydney and the Giants are this side of the draw, they had to play on the Saturday, ready to play a Friday night game, because they're trying to avoid the 5-day turnarounds.
All right, fair enough.
This is usually the bit where Mick Moldhouse gets his one handball for the game, and you have to do the votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year, Lingy, but it's decided. Clayton Oliver won the ABC Footballer of the Year, so we don't need votes from the finals. enjoyed the broadcast tonight. We'll have the lead on ABC Grandstand AFL from midday for most listeners. That's midday Eastern time. And we're going to have Leon Cameron as part of the build-up to the Giants and the Swans. Josh Kennedy will be part of the build-up as well. Tomorrow we'll have reactions from tonight. Mick Malthouse will be part of the team for Sports Talk in the West. Let's hear how it unfolded tonight.
Side Guthrie. Guthrie can go short to Henderson, and he's got himself in a pickle. He had to get down low. He's tackled by Marshall. Now the quick kick hurries over the top, and Motlop with the opener runs into an open goal. Duursma tries to break the tackle of Myers, and he does. He just dumps this kick towards Dixon. This time he gets both hands in it. Reading it best off his hands is Robbie Gray. Open goal square, bounces through for their second.
Patrick Dangerfield for possession number 7. Fans on behalf of Crows fans are giving him the usual reception as the kick goes inside the 50 for Henderson. It comes off the pack to Motlop, who kicks for his second and makes the Cats pay for an error again. Drew, who worked it beautifully, a floating kick to the top of the 50. Bonner, a squaring ball, it's off the outside of his boot. Henderson back with a flight, tapped it down, front and centre row, Fantasia! Pops it through and punches the air as he runs off in celebration.
Wines with the penetrating kick into the pocket. He goes over the head of Dixon. Waiting at the back was Marshall, and he snaps casually off a foot and he buries it from the right forward pocket.
Rosie, defensive side of the broadcast wing, kicks around the wing. A pack of about 6. Dangerfield dropped the sitter in the end, uncontested. Grey Robe gave it to Fantasia from 55 out. Oh, the power absolutely on fire. Orazio Fantasia on return has kicked 3. Boak, first clearance inside 50. Out comes Henderson, drops the mark he should have taken. He really has had a down night. Ball picked up in congestion by Boak. Hand pass to Motlop, off to Fantasia for 4. More and more. It's the Port Power heading to the prelim. Lysett knocked it down to Boak. Boak a hand pass to Bergman. Squeezed a kick to half forward, attacking at Kolodjasny. His bootlaces. It ricochets the way of Butters, who gives to Pal Pepper, who might just bring Adelaide Oval to its feet. Henderson the target. Rosie dived in front of him to mark and kicks to half forward. Boak's taken the mark, 47 out. He kicks to Pal Pepper at full forward. He's got it! Pal Pepper to the cathedral end. Amen. It's over.
Soaking up the seconds. Every single member inside the Adelaide Oval. Hands are clapping. The drums are beating. 7 days ago, they hadn't beaten a team inside the top 4. Now they've downed the Dogs and the Cats. It's a power home preliminary final for the second straight year. They're going to hit September fully charged. They demolished the Cats by 43 points.